Buy that.
Absolutely atrociously expensive.
The only flawed Force Swag I want is that Xbox One controller. That thing looked awesome.
You like that the blue and
I,
white?
I thought that I love that color blue that they used on that. I like that. It's just a good blue.
Really? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I did too. I didn't dislike it at all. I just I felt that sometimes when they do those special controllers, they actually are sort of just a paint job.
Yep.
That one is sort of just a paint job, but I could see it attracting some specific users.
It looked like maybe it has like that smooth rubberized kind of coating to it. That's what it looked like. I wasn't sure though.
Yeah. All right, I think we are completely live. All right, everybody. So, hi, everybody. This is Karak with Angry Centaur Gaming, and here with Joker, Silver, and Rejaku. And we are going to just jump right into this. Guess what? My girl wants to party all the time. I don't know why I've got Eddie Murphy in my head. I've been watching Eddie Murphy movies, stayed up all night after doing the Assassin's Creed stuff, and just watched Eddie Murphy movies.
The early ones, I hope.
Oh, are there any others? I mean, when the actor themselves states that they did, what was it, Beverly Hills Cop 3, he knew it was going to be bad, but he just did it for the money. Probably not to watch that particular title.
I still liked Beverly Hills Cop 3. I liked all of them.
Yeah,
See,
me too.
here's the problem. I did as well. I didn't watch it last night, but let's be honest. If you compare it to 1 and 2, I mean,
That's true enough. Yeah.
it's like that one ex-girlfriend. Whenever anybody asks you about ex-girlfriends, you can't remember that single one because they were just sort of there. It's that.
Yeah.
Not to diss on any ex-girlfriends who might be watching. Anyway, so hi, everybody. We are going to be discussing a bunch of stuff today. Today's the first live video and the first time we've ever had somebody on the channel as well who has their own YouTube, and we're doing it live. And that, of course, is Joker, who has his awesome YouTube channel, and he'll go ahead and tell you what it is. Go for it.
So basically, I do mostly PC gaming stuff. I cover like gaming news in general, but most of it is geared towards PC gaming. So if you're into PC gaming, I cover that and the hardware that drives PC gaming as well. So it's like a combination of hardware and gaming, but it's all centered around PC gaming, I guess, is the central core idea of it. And when we're talking about hardware, it's about performance, and I emphasize doing like performance in games like when they first come out, more so even than gameplay. Just talking about like FPS, how's it running in SLI, because there's a lot of people out there that are interested in that like more than other things. Like they they have a general idea like, yeah, it's going to be a good game, but how's it going to run on my PC? So
Right.
that's kind of my angle that I try to take with it. So if you're into PC gaming, you'll probably appreciate some of the stuff I do.
Yeah, a very cool channel. I got to do it earlier this week, and it was such in detail and so technical. It was a little bit of a culture shock for me because I'm so used to having to talk. No, I'm not saying talk down to people, but you want to make sure people understand it in layman's terms.
Yeah.
And they have a hardcore fan base as well as a casual fan base, but their hardcore fan base was expecting discussion about latencies and stuff like that, which I love to talk about but rarely get to. And so I jump in and they're like, yeah, well, the wafer board, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. But at the same time, it was sort of a culture shock again to jump back into that kind of discussion. Awesome channel. If you guys get to check it out, please do.
Thank you.
He has a great partner in crime. What's his channel?
Brian from Tech Yes City.
It was just hilarious to hear them talk, man. They have a really cool charisma together. That's for sure. How long have you guys been doing that together?
Well, we're 20 episodes in, and we do it once a week, and we haven't missed a week yet, so 20 weeks exactly was this Wednesday.
Awesome, and I've missed every week. See, that just goes to show you professional people like Joker and people like myself. All right, so the first thing I want to do is thank all the patrons, as we always do. We did end up going over the 800, which means I'll be doing this streaming next month, and we will try to figure that out. We are also on Free Giveaway Friday, so I've given away about 15 games today to the patrons. Also, this video, just a reminder to patrons, if you guys want to jump in, feel free to email me on Patreon, and I will put you into this video with Silver, Rejaku. We won't kick anybody out, but we will add you guys in if you want to. So the first thing I want to do is, we're getting a lot of user questions, especially to me, usually because I don't do the why videos as much, and one of the questions, of course, is why. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some user questions that have come in the last couple weeks, and one is particularly for the channel. The other one I think we're all going to answer or give our own interpretation of. The first question is, Karak, why haven't you done any more Y videos, and why no more blankety blank videos? And that's from Frankentush, which is an awesome username. So why haven't I done any more Y videos? Plain and simple, that's just because it's busy. We're getting into the fall area here, and it's one of those situations where I think it'll probably take a little bit of time for me to figure out how to spread myself across the different videos and make sure that everybody gets to see what they want to see and gets the answers that they want to specific questions. When it comes down to it, the Y videos they're only for a very certain select group, because some people just they don't have that question, or they don't care about it. And then when it comes to the blankety blank videos, those are one more giveaway, one more contest video. They're a blast to do. They're some of the most fun, enjoyable videos to do. But again, they have to wait for reviews. And right now, I think I have like 15 games that are waiting to be reviewed. So, as a review channel, that's the primary. It is me by myself. Cadiz helps when he can, but he's got his own job and he does his own stuff. So he's usually, very occasionally, just popping in and out. So we will continue to try. The blankety blank videos are awesome. Did you guys ever, Silver, Rejaku, Joker, did you guys ever do any of those or see those videos?
I'm not sure exactly which
No,
ones you're
I don't
talking
think so.
about.
So the blankety blank is where all I do is say, like, this NPC is the best blanket in this game because of blank. And then users comment, and we give away, for the best answer, I give away a game.
So it's like a word game. You guys basically like,
It is, yeah.
video game, like ad-libbing.
It was hilarious. Yeah, we had some awesome ones. Who's the biggest asshole? Who's the just all these crazy ones. But unfortunately, we've had to sort of dump that. And then the next question. This will be a question for everybody. It's a good question, and it says, Karak, some of the things I've been hearing now during reviews and comparing versions of systems I haven't heard before in the past. Things such as frame latency, anisotropic filtering, and others. Why do you think that is? Why is there so much technical stuff in reviews? And that's by Blunherbus. Oh, there's always somebody doing a sexual joke. I think I'll just answer that. The internet allows people to learn stuff. Doesn't mean that they're smarter. It just means they can look up words. And I think that we do see people jumping on the internet and sort of trying to identify things. But let's be brutally honest. We have a lot less competition right now, especially in the console space. But even as I discussed with Joker and his peeps on his channel, even with like Intel and AMD, we don't have as much competition in various areas. When there's less competition, humans inherently look for more. And that's just the way we are. We've always been that way. You're always looking for more data. And so what happens is, instead of comparing, let's say, Nintendo, Sega, Microsoft, Sony, now there's just Sony and Microsoft for the most part. Not to diss on the Wii U, but to completely diss on the Wii U. The fact is that we have this situation where there's not a lot to really discuss across systems, so we start looking at the games even more. For example, a lot of people will blow up the comparisons in consoles as if they're massive, when in real life, as I think we all know now, they're far less than a PS3 versus an Xbox difference when you used to play those games. I played Dragon's Dogma at like 1 frame per second on the PS3 and like 30 frames per second on the 3. I mean, there were some hugely different versions of those games.
Yeah, because the architectures were so vastly different between the platforms, so they were hard to develop for, especially the PS3.
Exactly. So we're looking now at a smaller overall subset for us to compare. And I think what happens is people look for more, and they start looking at things that are a little softer. And I know I need to move on because I've given everybody about 2 minutes, but we're looking at some things that are a little softer. For example, frame latency only now is becoming an issue. Frame latency wasn't discussed years ago. It was frame rate. There's a huge difference between frame latency and frame rate. And average frame rate, I think we've discussed, for the last couple generations. But when you start looking at IQ, when you start hearing people say image quality, well, right now I'm dealing with people assassinating one another in the Assassin's Creed video, because some people like dynamic lighting, which is what Syndicate does, which allows for day-night cycle in real time or accelerated real time. And then you have Unity, which is very, very contained, very calculation heavy, but it's baked in. It doesn't change. And so IQ is even difficult right now. It's sort of one of those things that I can say I like the look of Syndicate better, but overall somebody may say they like the look of Unity better. But in real life, in those kind of issues, it's actually difficult to really point your finger at something and say it is 100% for sure better. So I think it just comes down to we have less to really compare, and so we start digging in deeper. But
you're splitting hairs, and also I think with this generation of consoles more than anyone previously, it's just I think a lot of gamers' vocabularies has expanded a lot in this area as well with graphics, because previously frame rate wasn't really like a major part of it. It was there in the background, but not like this one. Now every game that comes out, it's like, what's the resolution? What's the frame rate?
Right.
Which one is using this lighting system or this or that? It's and PC, and because PCs also, I feel a lot more in the foreground now than it was in the past. I don't know, do you feel that way?
Yeah,
I feel like
do.
it's had a resurgence.
Yeah.
So because PC, we're looking at all that stuff obviously with like graphics options. It becomes more part of the discussion. So you have maybe people from consoles kind of trickling in with the PC crowd, and they're learning from them and learning with each other. And then they're starting to see, oh, they got all this stuff over on PC and they want to try it out. So people just start to expand their knowledge. And I think it's not much longer and probably just all be one big thing. That's where I think it's going towards.
Yeah. What about you, Silver?
I think a lot of it is probably due to the increased prevalence and success of YouTube commentators like Joker or Total Biscuit. And that's a large part of the reason why it's entered the conversation so broadly.
Yeah. So where they sort of inform their listeners, who then go.
Yeah, and that's kind of led the way, so to speak, in terms of print media and such following along.
Yeah. No, that's actually a really good point. What about you, Rejaku?
Well, I personally watch some of the Total Biscuit videos. And he often goes really into detail in the options menu, like it got SSAO and the simple options. But I don't know how much the average user really makes out of that information.
Right.
If
You
it's
mean how-
just buzz.
I think you'd be surprised, at least with the PC crowd, it's very important to a lot of people. There are definitely casual gamers on the PC that don't care as much, but it feels like to me, at least the majority of people that I speak to, and maybe that's because I'm in kind of like a closed like PC enthusiast bubble, I don't know, but it seems like everyone that I talk to is dead set. It's like, oh, this is like, thank you so much for doing the options. I wanted to know if this had an FOV slider or if it didn't, or if it does 144 hertz support or if it doesn't, because that can be a deciding factor for someone.
Definitely.
If it doesn't support over 60 hertz, like people that have 144 hertz screens, like, okay, I'm not buying it then. Simple.
Yeah, or if you get motion sickness easily, then FOV can be really important.
Absolutely.
Those options, yes, but there are many other options where I personally don't know really the difference either.
Actually, I was actually getting into that as well, Rejaku, like SSAO. I mean, or anti-aliasing. I could spend hours talking about anti-aliasing, and what'll happen is you'll get a large majority who will just say anti-aliasing, but they have no clue about why I like SMAA, like why I talk about it all the time, why I consider it the best, especially for like consoles.
Low performance impact, and it does the best, and it looks the best,
and it looks the best, and why I was so upset that it wasn't built in, that basically the consoles hadn't looked at that and said, holy crap, we need that, and we need to just make that like the de facto. And the thing is you're absolutely right. There's this weird thing where there's some options that matter and some options that don't. And what's really strange is you split it again when you talk about something like a monitor, like Joker said. So you get those kind of people who maybe have maybe some people play their console and their PC games on a TV, where maybe they don't know as much about, its refresh rates and stuff like that. And so they're like, hey, what's the resolution? And then you get another group who's over here who has really high-end monitors like myself. And they're like, okay, it needs to support this, it needs to support that. And then you get another group who's just console. And then you get another group who's just PC and who wants to hit the high or the ultra setting and have it pretty much run, even though we all know that for the most part, because of video cards and everything like that, you almost never want to do that because some setting will throw you off, like shadow distance in a particular game I don't want to mention right now.
Man, that what's it called? I was playing Vermintide today because I'm working on a performance review for that, and I was talking to you on Wednesday about how the CPU is just getting caned in that game. If you actually go through the graphics options in there, they actually will tell you, okay, this is high GPU or high CPU or low GPU. Yeah. And I thought that was really nice they included that, because I saw that they have 3 shadow options in there. If you just knock them down one notch, I got an instant boost by 70 frames.
Well, you and I were talking, and you were saying you had this you were having all these issues, and I was like, well, that's weird. I'm not. So I did what you did. I went and looked at it last. It would have been the night before last. I went and looked at it, and funny enough, there was a warning when the beta first came out, and it said, "Do not pick extreme." And
yeah, those two options, and then the one that has the counter that goes to 10.
Yeah,
yeah,
and
I did it. If you put it on ultra, if you put it on ultra, it defaults to the extreme, but then there's that numbered one on the slider, it like defaults to 6 even on ultra. And I was just like, no, that goes to 10. I'm going to move that to 10. Yeah. It's like, if it goes to 10,
your frame rate goes to 10 as well.
Yeah, and I was like, and then I'm running around like, why am I getting 30 FPS on my system? It's like, this should not be happening.
I guess
that was it.
In all honesty, we would all agree on the most important news today, which is Vermintide came out, and you need to go get it. You need to go get it. And when console versions of that game come out, I'm going to probably have every version and be playing. It's one of the most just absolutely impactful games I've played. I don't even want to get into it because we'll talk about it for hours. But anyway, so those are our answers for those questions, and I appreciate it, guys. Keep sending those questions. That's actually a really good. Both of those questions actually. Well, the second one in particular really does sort of. It sort of enlightens everybody as to where the current, I guess, focus is from some gamers on what, you have websites now that their entire thing is technical focus, where they just do, PC versus PS4 versus Xbox One, and that it happened in the past, but they just didn't have the prevalence that they do now. And, whether you believe, like I do, that that's because these consoles are fairly middling and used a lot of mobile parts, and it becomes easier in a way to sort of compare them. I mean, remember back in the day with I still remember the 360 when they were talking about the memory they put right on the video card, and talking to a Capcom developer, and he's like, listen, this has never been done before on a console, and it allows us to do things we never thought possible. And with the Xbox One and the PS4, every single developer I've talked to stated nothing is special about them. They weren't being rude. They weren't being rude at all. They even admitted that the eSRAM did some unique things, and that the RAM in the PS4 was unique, but the actual systems themselves are bog standard almost. There's some changes, but they're nowhere near those switch ups we had. I mean, the PS3, a lot of programmers looked at that and were like, "What the is this thing?" We need to. I mean, look at Skyrim, Fallout. Those guys couldn't get. Those guys couldn't get those games to run on the PS3 if their life depended on it. So there was just so many issues there. So it's a really unique time frame when consoles and PCs are sort of overlapping one another. So after that, we want to talk about games we've been playing. I'll go first. Of course, Assassin's Creed, which I found out this morning that Assassin's Creed is getting a third patch, and if it does what it says it does, that game will go to an instant buy. I don't want to say it will for sure, but I looked at a patch note that Kotaku released. I try to never go there, but somebody pointed me there and was like, hey, you should check out this patch note. And if it's true, it patches 2 or 3 of the specific things that really made me look at Assassin's Creed and not be able to tell people to get it. I'm enjoying the game despite that, and this will be my second playthrough of it. It's fantastic. It's super fun. It's just, unfortunately, interacting with bugs is not the most enjoyable thing. And then Descent, the new Descent that just released on early access, playing the hell out of that. Very cool. I like those kind of games. Much better than the game I just released just reviewed a couple weeks ago. It said it was like Forsaken. I don't remember if you guys saw that. There was a review I did a couple weeks ago where a lot of people are talking about 6 degrees of freedom. They're like, these games allow for 6 degrees of freedom and speed like Forsaken and like Descent. When you tell me a game is like Quake or Doom, it better be, goddammit, like Quake or Doom. Because if it's not, you are doing nothing more than attaching your title to them. And here's the problem. That causes me to expect something from them. And the past 3 or 4 games have been like, we're like Forsaken, we're like Descent. They were nothing like it. Luckily, Descent this morning came out, and of course it's called Descent, and it does feel like that. So I'm super stoked to be able to play that. Halo, which I can't really talk about. I will just, can't talk about Halo. I don't want to get in trouble and leak something. Halo, I think there'll be. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what people think of Halo. The 60 frames per second. There's been some pictures out there of what Halo 5 looks like. now that they've jumped to 60 frames and some of those trade-offs. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people are going to see the forest, or see the trees, not see the forest, or vice versa. They're going to get lost in some of the discussion of the game, and is the game good versus what the game's doing technically. And that bothers me.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that was like the discussion I was just having today about Assassin's Creed Syndicate, because they also chose to try to fix performance a little bit, but instead of by optimizing better with the engine, they just removed like a lot of NPCs, decreased the textures and the detail on the NPCs, stuff like that. So, they made that trade-off for performance, and it looks like Halo's doing that too. And I was asking people like, how do you feel about that? Like, do you think it's worth it to have the trade-off of visuals for better performance? Because on consoles, obviously, they don't really have much of a choice. It's just this is what the game is. On PC, we can change options, but on consoles, they can't. So they really don't have a choice. So I'm curious how they feel about that. If it's something they're willing to put up with.
Well, I personally, I feel like that trade-off. I mean, okay, you could have had the multiplayer be 60 frames per second, and the single player be 30.
I think that would be a good.
And I think that this might be one of those situations where a vocal minority that wants 60 frames a second will look at Halo 5 and say, thank God. But I think when it comes down to it, there's probably not going to be as many people who would have rather just had it 30 and look better. I could be wrong. And that's about it for what I've been playing. What have you been playing, Joker?
Obviously Vermintide, I've been enjoying the beta on that, and now they put it out the full version today, and I got the 13 gigabyte update, so downloaded that and played a little bit of like one of the newer levels, and I'm planning on playing more of that later. Just my friends finally got it now today, so we're all going to play it together tonight.
Very cool.
Looking forward to that. I jumped back into Wolfenstein: The New Order after we were talking about the other day, because I just felt like killing some Nazis, and there's not enough good World War II games anymore. Just not enough good World War II games anymore. And what else did I? Oh, and Chivalry Medieval Warfare, because they had a free weekend this weekend, which means that been a nice influx of noobs to go in there and ruin their day.
And Shiv. Gotcha.
Yeah, basically.
Anything else?
Play some Shiv. Nope, that's it. That's it, basically.
What about you,
Mostly
Silver?
Vermintide, though.
Yeah.
I just finished playing the last episode of Tales from the Borderlands.
Awesome. What'd you think?
Really liked it. I didn't think the last episode was the strongest, but as a whole, I think the entire game's really strong and one of Telltale's best. Definitely.
So if somebody asked you what your favorite Telltale was, which one would it be?
I would probably go with Wolf Among Us, just because I'm a huge noir fan.
Yeah.
And that game really, really hit a nerve with me.
Gotcha. What else you been playing?
Actually, another adventure game. It's funny that Joker mentioned the lack of World War II games, because it's actually an adventure game with a really, really interesting spin. It's called A Stroke of Fate, Operation Valkyrie. And it casts you as an SS officer, German officer during World War II in Germany.
Oh,
really?
That's awesome. I've been wanting
a member of
from that side forever.
And not just any SS officer. You're a member of the SS Secret Police, the SD, the Sicherheitsdienst, created by Reinhard Heydrich. And you've become disillusioned with Hitler, and so you take part in the conspiracy to murder Hitler.
Okay, because I was like, where are we going with this conversation?
You are still a fully committed Nazi. You still have like the black leather coat and the armband, everything.
That's awesome. I've been wanting to see like a game from that side forever. It's always the one side, I just want to see something coming from the Axis,
But I will say, it is really inaccessible. It's like the worst parts of the adventure game genre, because a lot of the puzzles are really, really obtuse and require a walkthrough to get through.
Oh, got ya. You mean like a bathtub plus some bubblegum equals an airplane?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Gotcha. What about you, Rejaku? What have you been playing?
I've been playing Tales from the Borderlands as well. Actually found out that I hadn't played part 4 yet either, so I played part 4 and 5 back to back, and actually thought that part 4 was the stronger one from the two.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
But as a whole, it was one of the better Telltale games.
What would
it
be
wasn't
your
the
favorite?
best. I think Wolf Among Us as well. I really liked that one.
Awesome.
But I'd put Tales from the Borderlands as a solid number 2 from Telltale.
Cool.
Then I played the last episode of Life is Strange, And, well, as feared or as expected, the choices up to that point really don't matter at all.
It Mass Effect us. It was a Mass
Yeah.
Effect ending. It was like
Exactly.
they had torn that napkin in half, and instead of 3 colors, you had
Yep.
fucking 2. Yeah, it just
Just forget everything that happened before it, and here's your choice, your last choice. That's the ending. Go for it.
I'm really sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's quite disappointing. And Rebel Galaxy. Yes, that was it. I played a bit of that.
Rebel
And
Galaxy.
exactly. And I finished Witcher 3 main story finally.
Oh, good for you. What'd you think of that?
Well, it was pretty good. It's yeah, okay. I had really, really big problems with the last boss fight.
Oh, really? Why is that?
I don't know. It just kicked my butt over and over and over again till I finally beat him.
That's like one of those games. I feel like completing it is honestly an achievement. It's worthy of bragging rights to say I finished Witcher 3. You should get like a plaque afterwards, like you got a doctorate or something. Like, yeah,
Or
I
they
finished
take a picture of you right at the moment you win, like the Kinect used to do on the Xbox. You know? That's funny.
Yeah,
So
Rebel Galaxy was the last one. Yeah, I got Vermintide, but I haven't played it yet. So that's still on the to-do list.
So I guess since we've all discussed it, let's go ahead just for a moment, because Joker didn't mention it, but I want to see what he thinks. When it comes down to life, we'll talk about Life is Strange in a moment. So Tales from the Borderlands, I felt the last episode was definitely not the strongest. 4 was. I also felt that that the Wolf game, it is the best of all of them. And so real quickly, I just want to go around the table. And if you don't agree and you don't think it's the best, why? And what is your favorite? But I don't know what it is about Wolf that got my goat so much. I don't know if it's that character or the mixture of fantasy with real life, which I do like. I like it in any kind of fiction I read, whether it be books, watch movies, whatever. But I just felt that Wolf was their best. Like it was such a stellar overall game, super interesting. And really enjoyable mix between real world and fantasy. What about you, Joker? What's your favorite and why?
Well, I have to be honest and bow out of this discussion because I am not a fan of the adventure genre in general. So
Gotcha.
I've tried a couple of the Telltale games because I like Walking Dead, I like Game of Thrones, but I just couldn't get into it.
That makes sense. Okay, what about you, Silver?
Well, definitely Wolf Among Us, and the large part of that is just the atmosphere and the characters and the air of mystery to it, really.
Oh, Era Mystery. Yeah, that's actually a really
Yeah.
good point. That's a really good point. What about you, Rejaku?
Well, as I said just a moment ago as well, Wolf Among Us. Because of the setting, the characters were really interesting. It was a nice twist on the fairy tales. Yeah, it was just the most enjoyable story-wise, I think.
So we'll discuss for a second and we'll move on because Joker hasn't played this, but Life is Strange. As you guys know, I was surprised enough that I made like 3 videos when the first part of that series came out because I just, in no way, shape, or form was I expecting to like that game. I absolutely thought it was great. 1 and 2 and 3 were great. I found out some of the writing staff had changed, and 4 and 5 reflect that, I think, dramatically. 1, 2, and 3's editing is really well done. The editing is on point. The conversations are, for the most part, lean and get to the point and then move on. In 4, things started to slide. I noticed 4 had, even though it had that great starting, it had some shaky bits in there when it came to editing and keeping that narrative tight. And 5 it was like the editor had just snorted a bunch of crank and ran off to play with monkeys, man, because he was not there for that 5th episode. That 5th episode has this one scene, guys, that is hilarious. It's Sam, or I'm sorry, it's Chloe and Sam, right? Sam, Max. Why am I getting Sam
Max.
and Max? Yeah, it's Max. Sorry. So it's Max and Chloe talking, and I swear to God, it's nothing more than 5 to 10 minutes of them saying, "You complete me." And I'm just sitting there going, seriously, we get it. Like, we get it. Can I? And I've never done that with A Life is Strange, ever. I've never even thought of doing that with A Life is Strange title. And that's the first time where I almost just walked off. I was like, it's not doing it. So, Silver, have you played it, and how much?
No, I've been saving it till when all the episodes were out. I wanted to play it then.
It's well
so,
worth it.
I'm
Don't
looking
get me
forward
wrong.
to it.
Yeah, it's well worth it, don't get me wrong. And then, Rejaku, would you agree with that? Would you agree that it seems like their editing sort of just went to shit?
The last part, I think, really showed that, yeah, they went off a tangent.
Right.
I don't know what they did there. It was like they almost went into bed, the two characters.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah.
Although mechanically, I like the second one least because I was often trying to go off screen, and she always told me, "No, I don't want to go there. No, don't want to go there." And I hadn't that problem. Didn't have that problem in the other episodes.
Yeah, pretty crazy when it comes down to it. So we've all talked pretty much. I think, is that all we've been playing? Is there any special games of note anybody else wants to bring up before we move on?
No, I think I covered everything I've been playing.
Okay. Industry news, and we have a bunch of it. We have a bunch. Silver brought up, I believe, the situation surrounding Payday 2. Were you the one who emailed on that? So why don't you discuss that?
Well, I used to play Payday 2 back when it launched, and I've been playing it intermittently in between then. And back when it launched, the developers promised that there would be no microtransactions in the game. In fact, their language was quite forceful on it. They said, one of the developers said, I believe, shame on you for suggesting that the game would ever have microtransactions.
Wow.
And then lo and behold, during the latest Crime Fest, they kind of sneak them in there. They don't do it with an announcement or anything. They just kind of sneak it in there with a patch, where you get these after a match after a game in Payday 2, you get these random drops, these cards that are random. It can be a mask, a weapon modification, money, whatever, and then now you can get a safe. But in order to open the safe, you need to buy a drill with real world money.
Yeah, it's basically getting the keys in CS:GO, basically.
Yeah.
For the cases, that's basically what they've done.
All right, so
they've now kind of fixed it and gone back on it a little bit, because now you can actually get the drill as a random drop as well.
okay,
But the drop rate is pretty low as far as I understand it.
I'll let you guys continue to talk about it. I do want to make sure people are aware. I did some study on this yesterday, and it looks like at least one or two of the people who promised this, as well as one or two of the creative directors, are gone and left prior to this. So it is good for people to understand that some of the people who didn't want to do this are gone.
Also, to be fair, it's 2 years. They made these promises 2 years ago, so I'm not necessarily against them changing their minds.
They should have warned everybody, maybe.
The way they handled it was just a complete clusterfuck. I mean, they didn't say anything. They just kind of tried to sneak it in there in a patch. And of course, people noticed immediately.
Anybody else playing that, or notice that, or have any thoughts on it?
I haven't been playing it, but I've obviously heard about it, and since I speak out a lot about like microtransactions and stuff over on my channel, bad business practices, a lot of people were asking about it. I thought it was a shitty situation, because obviously I think everyone had the same knee-jerk reaction, where it's like, oh wait, they said they aren't, and now they are, because we didn't know that information. Like you just said, that's the first I've heard that about them. The people have being gone now, so I think that definitely puts a different spin on it a little bit. Because if the people aren't there that promised it, then I can't really hold them responsible, the people that actually said it, obviously, because they had nothing to do with it. But if any of the people that were there that said that are still there, then sure. But I don't like the whole idea of the microtransactions in general. The whole thing just sounds just like gouging people for money, basically. It's just, I feel like they're just milking it because they see other people using it and it works, and it's really, especially in a game that you're paying a value, $20 or $30 for when it comes out. What did Payday 2 launch for? Was it $30 or $40?
It was 50.
It was 50. Yeah,
$50. So there you go. And they're basically using what I would consider kind of like a free-to-play model in a full-price game, and that's disgusting. That is one of the biggest things for me. If it's a free-to-play game, that's fine, because that's basically the price of entry, is that you're going to get hammered day in and day out. It's like, oh, why don't you buy this? You can unlock this faster instead of grinding. But I feel like when you pay $50, $60 for a game, you're paying for the privilege to bypass that kind of hammering of marketing towards you in the game menus. And there it is. They just put it in, so...
Very good
it's also
point.
worth noting that with Overkill, their DLC policy hasn't exactly been superb either. I mean, you go to their Steam store page and you check the list of DLC, and it's a mile long.
Well,
just,
it's not Train Simulator though.
smaller. No, it's not that. Fair enough.
Well, at least Train Simulator gives you the new
But
game for free
it does
every
get
year.
close.
Train Simulator makes me laugh so much because here, I know somebody who likes trains, and the amount of money for all the DLC is nothing compared to what they would pay for a special 1942, some kind of limited edition train, right? So to them, to people who like train stuff, it's actually a very high cost to get into. So it's a good value to them. But when there were some news announcements about that, a lot of fans were like, dude, we've known about this for years. Thanks for finally posting about it. You know how it is. Websites are so late on what they report. But when it comes to Payday, microtransactions, Joker said it best. If you pay the full price, then the microtransaction bit, you're paying in a way to remove that, almost like YouTube Red. If you want to pay your $10 and not watch any ads on YouTube, such is life, right? Like you shouldn't have to. People paid, people bought it, and they're still having to watch, or they're still having to get those blurbs, and there's a problem with that. I do think that what they did was they probably looked at it and were like, listen, we don't want to make Payday 3. We can't continue to sell the game at full price, so let's try to work a way for free to play in there. What they probably should have done is had a year worth of announcements, like a long time to tell people and to just see. And I haven't looked at spy sales to see if they were selling really well before this happened. Maybe they were worried that they had some good sales and they were going to go away. But I think when it comes down to it, it would have been best to have 6 months to a year of saying, hey, we're going to transition into this. You can still play it. But to keep this going, and then we talked about this on Joker's channel. The fact is no one gives away free shit anymore. Even Microsoft was known for doing that. And I know people love to hate Microsoft, but they were one of the companies that many times Sega did this. Sega sort of screwed some people over with the Sega Saturn, so they shipped them 3 free games. Like that stuff used to happen to gamers when they felt that they got sort of gypped. So if I'm playing Payday 2 and this microtransaction is going to come up, then give everybody to the DLC, or give everybody a new part of some DLC, and then but warn people prior. No one does that. No one. It's completely, just like everybody said, sneaky. It's like, hey, we're going to program this in. We're going to have a go date, and we're going to release it. And what's sad about that, I think everybody should take this away. The saddest thing about this is the fact that Payday 2 had such support prior to it.
Yeah,
dude, holy shit! Talk about turning your fan base against you like that.
Yeah, this was like one of the hardcore, like one of the hardcore like PC games, like that had like the people really behind it. And I don't know why I separate the PC, because I know it was on like PlayStation as well, but I always feel like
and
it's
Xbox,
the most local group. I feel like
I've
it's
heard
always
actually
the most,
that the console versions of it are broken. That's what I hear.
Yeah, they
haven't been fixed.
Yeah, and they complained about it, and the devs told them, "Oh, you should be playing it on PC."
Right.
Yeah.
Which I agree with. I kind of agree. I can't
Well,
lie.
I guess when it comes down to it, if no developer has the right to say that if they sell it on a platform.
No.
No.
Not.
I know what Joker meant by I agree, as in, yeah, if you want the best option, you should. But, if a company's going to try, you guys hear me say this all the time, the moment anybody asks for money, this is why I have no problem reviewing an early access title. If you put something out there and put a monetary value on it, screw you if you think for a millisecond that somebody doesn't have the ability to tell others if it's worth it. That's complete bullshit. Yeah. And if you put something on the console and then have the audacity, and it's just completely unmitigated audacity, to jump in there and be like, you guys should be playing on PC. Fuck you, man. Not only should we not play on PC now, but we should tell others to not buy your game until you guys figure out how to handle your public relations in some more savvy way. I mean, they sound like me. I don't work PC for a reason.
Their PR person sounds like a 15-year-old in the YouTube comments.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, what is it broken? Go buy it on PC then.
Yeah. What are you, a putz? The God race. But yeah, that's really sad. I appreciate you bringing that up, because I think it's incredibly important that people talk about games that change the. I've told you guys this. I feel the same way about my favorite game of all time, which is State of Decay. They patched out some of the things I loved about that game, and I absolutely feel that whenever anybody changes what you were originally playing at a core level, which this does, everybody has a right to just freak out. I mean, that's of all the times I think people have a right to get upset. It's that when you've purchased something and they go out and they change the entire core, and to many removed the worth of it. So.
And only with like games and stuff like that can that happen. It would never happen with a physical thing. Oh, buy a car with leather seats. Oh yeah, we changed those to cloth. Turns out
Can you
run
imagine?
better.
Hey guys, I know you tried to get your oil changed, but when you did, we removed your leather seats and we put these cloth ones in, and you now don't have a steering wheel. You have a baseball bat. Congratulations and thanks.
But you like these better. No, I don't. Yes, you do. You like these better.
Exactly. Yeah. Trust me, it works a lot better as the person crashes on the way out. So the next bit I want to talk about is winter versus summer release schedules. And okay, I get it. I get why people release in the winter, but we see some games do really well in the summer. And as I was doing these reviews, I realized a lot of the commenters, especially on the channel, were like, holy shit, like Fallout and Tomb Raider, these games releasing on the same day, all this kind of stuff. And the fact is I am getting really tired of winter being so frigging packed. And summer,
it's ridiculous.
February, nothing. My views go down to like 200 a day in February. There's nothing to talk about unless I want to talk about some Android game, Candy Crush. Hey, let's play Candy Crush together.
July and August is brutal, man. I'm just like, can we please get a new game, like something to talk about, please? It's like,
yeah. Here's the thing: if I was Microsoft and I had Tomb Raider exclusivity for a while, I'd wait. Now, it's too late to wait, but I'm saying if I was a company out there that had a game coming out in the winter months, this is going to be a big winter, guys. It doesn't have a GTA, but it does have a Fallout, which is massive. And it's got a couple others. If I were them, I would be like, you know what? I'm going to hold out for a little while, and I'm going to do a midsummer, early summer, and see how it goes. I mean, I get it. Everybody is so accustomed to winter, Christmas sales, Christmas, bundles. But god damn. I mean, when you have these huge games all released on the same day, it's a boondoggle. I mean, at some point,
Do they not think people play games in the summer? Because I would think that a lot of kids would be playing games in the summer when they're off to school.
That's my thinking as well.
It totally makes sense, dude. That's what I keep saying.
Especially and plus, if they're gamers, they're not going outside anyway. They're staying inside, just playing the games they had from last winter. Get shut up in their library. Just look at Rocket League. It's like, hey, we got something, and it was just like everyone was like, oh, we got something new we can actually play in the summer. Like everyone is on it. Like, just give us something to play, please.
I just want to give a shout out to Rejaku with his consistent. Every time he jumps into the channel, he says "Praise the Sun" because of the damn Battle for the Sun video game I reviewed. Worst game ever made. Yeah, when it comes down to it, I mean, I agree. I think summer there's definitely some sales we've seen from some big companies. It's about once every 3 years where you get a huge summer game. I think they've shown it can work.
Best summer game release ever for me was Enslaved Odyssey of the West. Completely hidden gem. I remember that came out in summer. I was like, this game is amazing. That was a great game.
It's so funny because there are so many people where that's like in their top 5, top 10 list. Enslaved is.
It should be. It's such an underrated title. I mean, you got Andy Serkis, Gollum in there, amazing voice acting, and just such an underrated game.
Have you guys played it, Silver, Rejaku?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, for like half an hour, so not really.
They just didn't get into it, yeah. Okay, and so the next, of course, Joker and I discussed this a little bit, but I think it's super important to discuss today, which is the enhanced editions of games coming out and how they're handled differently on different systems. So for the PC, you have Divinity Original Sin, their enhanced or master edition, and you have Wasteland 2. If you own the PC versions, you get, I believe, both of those are free, completely free updates.
Yep.
And let's be honest, Divinity Original Sin, let's go far past calling it an update. If you guys have read about what Divinity Original Sin is doing, it's pretty much anybody who's played it could play it again. Because they've changed story, they've changed missions, they've added a ton of stuff. And then consoles, for the most part, I believe, you have to pay for those.
Yep.
Which is so strange to me that I don't know why. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, shouldn't that be free for everybody or charge for everybody? Whichever. I don't think it should be a charge. But it does seem odd. I mean, I haven't been able to find a technical reason why a console can't get it for free. Have you guys?
No, not if it can be released, through a patch anyway, an online patch. Then I don't really see a reason why.
Yeah, no.
Apart from the fact that the consoles are always getting gouged more than the PC for whatever reason. That's on true. Prices of everything. Yeah. I mean, just look at sale prices on games. I mean, a game from like a year ago or whatever on a console, it's still $60. A game from a year ago on PC, you could probably find it for like $5.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could assume that might be because there's other stores on the PC and there aren't.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of competition.
I find that since you can buy, console games on Amazon, get their code, you can buy them on a couple places, you would think that there's some bit of competition that would drop the price, but it hasn't yet. And so we're getting these enhanced editions. Now, to be fair, both of them will require a completely separate download. So, as Joker said, if they're a patch, these are technically games. They're not going to be patches.
Yeah, it'll show up in your Steam library as two separate things.
So maybe
your
there's
save
a
doesn't
reason.
carry over.
Yeah, so, yeah, I don't know. For me, I just find that if you're giving it away completely to one group, you should give it away to all groups. It doesn't... I mean, it makes...
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
I can find no sense to that.
Well, it wasn't on console before this, so this is their first crack at even getting the game.
That's true.
Well, at least with Divinity, they just didn't have it. This
That's
is
true.
this is their version of the game, and the PC's just getting everything they got for free on top
That's
of
true.
it. So I don't really feel like that's the case with Divinity. But is that how it is with Wasteland, though?
Yeah, because I believe Wasteland's already on consoles. Now, somebody in the chat can pop off. I thought it already was. If not, then I'm okay with that. Even though, let's be honest, I think that the console versions, if so, they're probably going to be too expensive anyway. I don't know what Divinity is going to sell for, but I have a sinking feeling are they going to try to sell it for $59.99? And if they do, I love the game.
I think I've seen it listed for like that price in PSN. Yes.
Wasteland 2 is $39.99
That's a good price. Wasteland 2. So if people haven't played that on the console,
on PS4, $39.99 at GameStop.
that's not bad. That'll be interesting. And then, so the next is awesome just because it's such a unique thing, and it probably speaks to their preview program. But Xbox is sort of sneaking up on people with their preview program. So they have Elite. Now they're getting the Solus Project, and they also have Everspace.
Sorry, I'm sorry to do this, but before we move on, because we were still on Divinity, I just looked it up, and on the consoles, it's going to be $60. How do you feel about that compared to because what it released on PC was like $25, $30, was it?
Yeah, we discussed. We said I think it's a ripoff. I said,
Yeah,
and I love the game. I love the game.
That's crazy. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's good. We were trying to figure that out. But so when it comes to preview program, I put in the little topics is Xbox. Sort of their secret weapon is this preview program, but right now it's also space games. So, like I said, they've got Elite, they've got Everspace, and they've got the Solus Project, which looks incredible. I don't know why, but not only one do I love the resurgence of space games, but number two, I swear to God, this little preview program is like sneaking up on people. It's like EA Access. Everybody liked to bitch about EA Access. I'm going to tell you right now, there isn't a better deal in the universe right now than EA Access. I have got...
It sounds like a good deal.
It's the most unbelievable. It's majorly one of the reasons why I mostly game on that Xbox. It's ridiculous. It's every time a new game pops up, I'm like, wait, what? Have I signed some paperwork somewhere that I'm not aware of for my soul? Because this doesn't make financial sense to me at all. And you get all these free games. You get games that are brand new before 10 days before anybody else. So I was able to play like Inquisition before anybody else. Like it's just so odd.
But those are time limited. So
yeah, dude, it's 10 hours.
Yeah, still, but you have to buy it afterwards if you want to keep playing.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
you're basically paying for a prolonged demo. So
No,
I don't see really the value in that.
No. Oh, so you're saying that because even though you get the games for free later, because you do get those games for free.
Yeah, like a year after launch or something
It's 3 to 6 months. It depends. 6 months is the last one. But I get what you're saying now. You're saying that for those games that you really want to enjoy right then, you still have to. Okay, that's a fair bet. Yeah, that's fair. For me, when it comes to EA Access, the reason why I'm blown away by it is because some games, I'm going to be honest, you always hear this. Oh, you'd already play this game if you really were interested in it. Nope. When I see EA Access and it's got all these games, there's games where I'm like, I don't know if I like this, and I play it and I'm like, holy shit, this game's awesome. Need for Speed or whatever is on there. I just find that Xbox is doing some crazy stuff, compared to, and this is probably because they're in a lesser situation. You always see this when a console isn't doing as well as another one. They always try these new special things, and even though EA Access was announced forever ago, I still believe that EA Access is nothing more than an ancestor to the original plan of the Xbox One, which was, online only. I mean, EA Access, everything about EA Access feels like it was scheduled and planned years ago. Like, you don't just put something like that together that quick. But their little preview program is awesome. And so when it comes to space games, what are some other games like that you guys would want to see on consoles in particular? in like a preview program where you could jump in early. Because to me, the preview programs allow for people to get into games that, unlike early access, these are tested. So they're not going to be released if they're broken. But for me, Ark is one of them. I would absolutely love to see, number one, how Ark is going to be handled on consoles. Because that game, I love it, but come on, man. That game is a CPU, GPU disaster.
Oh, yeah.
It's terrible. It doesn't even go over 30 FPS. Like, you could throw anything at that, it won't go over 30 FPS.
Exactly. It's like
maybe with a console cluster.
So, but what do you guys think of it? I'd like to know. Like, do you guys, first of all, do any of you guys use the preview program? If it was on the PS4 and that's all you have, would you use it there? And then also, what are some unique games that you'd like to see on a preview program? So Joker, do you have a PS4 only, right?
I have a PS4 that I used for Last of Us, and now it's a doorstop.
Oh wow!
I'm strictly PC, man. I'm strictly on PC.
Unless it's an exclusive like The Last of Us, maybe Uncharted 4. Maybe.
Like Uncharted 4, like they said, it's probably going to be 30 FPS, which means I won't play it.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't play games unless they're 60 FPS. I'm a snob.
Okay, Silver. What about you?
I'm an absolute snob.
I don't know if there's really any PC to console games. I mean, one I thought it would be fun to see, but I don't know how on earth it would work. Could probably be Arma 3.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was
that
drinking.
Might be really fun.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't see how that could possibly work on console, but that might be fun.
That would be demanding.
Arma 3.
Yeah.
I can't even get it to. I mean, I'm an Arma 3 fan, and it's so hard on your system. There's that AI. Everybody doesn't realize how hard AI is. When I put together maps in Arma. Once you start dropping just a couple soldiers in, and then you try to play it, your frame rate just tanks.
I think consoles are going to be blown away when they start playing Elite Dangerous. Is it already on Xbox One?
Yeah, it's awesome
Yeah.
I
too.
think so, yeah.
It's such a good game. It's such a good game.
Not only that, but you're playing it on a console, and I was blown away. I even did a video on it. I was blown away by the control scheme. How they got the control scheme to work on a console just blew my mind.
That was one thing I was like, I don't know how they're going to do that because I use my entire keyboard in that game.
Here's how they did it. This is so weird. So things you don't go into often are longer button presses than things you go into quickly. So and it's not it's not every button, but like A, B, X, and Y. If you hold down A for a certain amount of time, it goes into your map versus if you tap it, which goes to missiles, right? And you would think, oh, this doesn't really how would that work? It works amazing. I mean, I was playing in Elite and feeling like I was doing as well as you could on a console. Without the fidelity of a mouse, within just a couple hours.
Flying and stuff like that, I've always felt controls very well on a controllers, and in a lot of cases, some cases even better.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't feel that way at all.
I know a lot of people do. I prefer using my mouse, depending on the game. Well, Battlefronts, I had a lot of issues, but I think they just need to fix the flying in that game in general. But,
yeah, they do, don't they?
I don't know. Some people swore to me that it's better on a control. I was like, well, I'm not going to find out.
What about you, Silver? Or no, you had said Arma. I'm sorry. So Rejaku, What about you? What do you?
Just to say to Elite, I actually played with the controller on PC. So yeah, I already used the controller there. So I'm not really surprised that it works well on console.
So do you like the preview programs, or do you think that they're good for consoles to have preview programs like that?
Well, the first time I heard about the preview program, I thought, well, great, they're bringing the worst of PC gaming to consoles.
Except they're not, because they're testing them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I first thought when I heard preview program, because I was thinking early access, and early access is just the abyss. It's
it is. It's like, be prepared for nothing to work.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think now that you know that they're certified at least to have
at least tested? Yeah. Well, I think it will probably work. People will certainly get into it.
Would you personally?
No, me not. I already got enough early access stuff on PC. I'm not starting that again on console as well.
The reason why I asked you that is because I know you are a huge gamer. You're like me, where you game on every single thing all the time. and you seem to play as many games as I do, and so I think that's for some people that preview program is awesome, but it actually does in a way add another layer of games that can be hard if you're already busy. And
definitely.
That actually makes sense. Like it's strange that I don't ever want to diss on options, right? But sometimes there are too many. Sometimes you're like, I can't play a preview because I don't have time to just jump into it.
So, my backlog is constantly growing anyway. So
yeah, mine too.
Yeah,
you have a Steam library where you've played maybe 20% of the games there.
Yeah. Exactly.
So the next thing up is we'll talk first about NDAs, and then we'll jump to Fallout 4 because Joker and I have some stuff to yell about. So when it comes to NDA, so one Redditor nearly sunk Assassin's Creed Syndicate, and because they supposedly were playing the early copy.
Yep.
And it's so funny because some of the stuff they were saying was outright lies, like completely wrong. And as a reviewer, I'm held to an NDA, right? So I can't say, and I'm not trying even to defend AC. I would defend a game I hated. If this was Battle for the Sun, my most hated game of all time, a game that might have actually given me some type of venereal disease just from playing. The plain and simple fact is, if that had come up, I would have still defended it. I would have still said, no, you're full of shit. But because we're held under NDAs and somebody supposedly got it early and saw this stuff, they were allowed to just bitch and moan about it. And I was wondering what you guys think, number one, of NDAs, and what do you guys think about this kind of, like, I guess, where people are just playing games early, especially Saudi Arabia. I don't know if you guys know, but the Middle East gets games way before anybody else. For example, they had Witcher 3 2 solid weeks before anybody else, and they actually offered to send me copies to review before the company was going to send me a copy to review. That's pretty crazy. But what do you guys think as a whole about that kind of stuff? So, like, Joker, does it bother you that people, can say whatever they want to say? I mean, are you just like, nah, that's life, that's the internet? But when it comes to, like, a Redditor being able to basically lie about a game, we talked about this before. When bad news comes out, everybody listens. When good news sort of comes out, people sort of forget, they go off. Like, the bad news for Syndicate was already out there, and it wasn't true. A lot of it wasn't true. So, I mean, what do you think about that? Like, have you ever been under an NDA and you've been just pissed about maybe somebody saying something about a thing you are playing and you don't agree with what they're saying? Does that ever happen?
I've never found myself in that situation yet. I'm sure eventually it will come about, but I just haven't been under enough NDAs, I don't think, yet for that to happen yet. But it can be kind of frustrating, I guess, being under NDA a little bit because people are asking you about it and all that, and you're just like, oh, I can't tell you anything. I'm sorry, I can't say anything. And that's.
How do you feel about NDAs coming out the day of the game, where reviews?
Oh, that's no good. Like, I think it was Far Cry 4. I think that did that. It was until like 12 hours after the launch of the game. I thought that was disgusting.
Especially when the game was good. Like they didn't even they did nothing but harm themselves. So
I disagree with that, but yeah.
Oh, you didn't like Fallout, or you didn't like Far Cry?
Not Far Cry 4. No, I thought I thought they just copied and pasted Far Cry 3, and I didn't think the characters were as good, and I just thought the world was very empty. It was just kind of a lot of busy work. It was Mad Max Total Biscuit had referred to that as open world game, the open world game, and that's what I felt about Far Cry 4. It just felt like a lot of busy work going around, pick up this treasure and do this. It was just a lot of filler and not a lot of quality, just quantity, really.
Wait, you mean Total Biscuit actually put his foot down on a game? Because he's the most wishy-washy guy I've ever seen in my life. So he actually sort of reviewed something and said a final word on it?
Well, he referred to Mad Max. I'm not sure if he did a full review. I think he just did a WTF maybe, but he just referred to it as open world game, the open world game, because it's just everything you would expect to see in an open world title that you would expect in the industry nowadays, like in an Assassin's Creed or a Far Cry game, to just pad it out basically is there in Mad Max, and that's what he was referring to. And I felt the same way about Far Cry 4.
Did you play Mad Max?
Yeah.
What did you think of Mad Max?
I despised it. I thought it was.
I loved it.
I really liked it.
Yeah, so did I.
It's just another one of those things. I'm always looking for something unique. It's something to grab my attention. Like we talked about Divinity Original Sin the other day and how that just came out of nowhere. Like I want to see something that's going to make me think differently, or something that's different out of the norm. When I just see the same thing, copy and paste it out, where it's basically it was just Shadow of Mordor with a car. That's my I know a lot of people don't agree with that.
No, that's
but
all right. Yeah, but I see what you mean.
that's my perception when I see it. I'm just like, I've already done this before. I don't want to do this again with a different paint.
Right.
For me, the setting was really different, and I really like the fact that here was Max as one of the few game protagonists who's actually disabled.
Yeah, that's true.
Because of his leg.
Yeah, that was actually true.
And the leg brace, and he's limping, and
let's discuss a
but
little
he's
bit more
still
about
holding his
NDAs,
own. You know.
Let's return to that NDAs real quick. So does anybody else? I mean, so since I'm the only reviewer here, we'll skip the part where I say that it just pisses me off that I can't say something about a game. When it comes to NDAs, we'll sort of move it to the review schedule thing. Do you guys feel that an early or that a late review is always indicative of a game that is going to suck? Because I don't. Not only do I not, but every game that I've reviewed that's had a late NDA, not every game, I'm sorry, but many games that I've reviewed that have had a late NDA did not turn out to be poor. They most likely were held up by some programming thing I'm not aware of, like, the game being worked on right up until that point. But what do you guys think of that as a whole? Like, Rejaku, what do you think when you hear?
I think when the NDA is on launch date or even after, it doesn't really instill confidence in the product.
Sure. Makes total sense, yeah.
If I see that, check out Metacritic, for example, and still don't see a single review, I'm holding off.
Sure.
I'm not touching that game.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Until after the reviews launch.
Is there a game? Well, Joker, I think, feels pretty much the same way. Would you agree, Joker? You're pretty much the same way if it's held.
I like to see when reviews come out ahead of time, as long as everyone that was going to get a review copy got a review copy, and it wasn't at like some closed review event or only select people got review titles. I thought that kind of had kind of happened with MGS5 before it had come out, because they had that review event, and I felt like they had almost like cherry picked who they wanted to be there.
Sure.
So what the game came out and it wound up being amazing, but it was just the perception of the whole event. It just made me feel like they kind of have something to hide, and they just want the guys that are going to come out and say, this is the best game ever, 10 out of 10 IGN all day long. That's the perception that I had, even though it wound up being unfounded in the end of the day, because it was a great game.
Yeah, it happens. It does. It's some really bad decisions can happen around good games, and some really good decisions and things that instill confidence can happen around games that are going to turn out to suck. Speaking of suck, Fallout 4 will require a Steam download, even if you buy it on disc. So, if you guys have been reading about this, and now I don't think Todd Howard said how big the download is, but here's the problem. So we already know how. If you guys aren't aware of how Steam works, Steam has the ability to remove either random or specific files from any game you download, and then allow those to be uploaded upon release date. I don't see how Bethesda couldn't have said, here's your disc, it's got every damn thing on it, except for the executable and some random music file somewhere, right? Instead, there's been rumors it's going to be, at least a gigabyte or two. And the problem is that some people, don't have the best. I know that everybody wants to think that everybody's internet is awesome. It's not. And especially in America.
Data caps.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just go. So Joker, what do you think? When you saw that, did you just want to punch somebody in the face like I did, or were you like, whatever?
I don't like it, but I appreciate that they've at least announced it well ahead of time, so people can maybe plan for this. Because when Metal Gear Solid 5, going back to that again, when that came out, it was just people that had gotten the discs, and it was like, oh, I have to download like 50 gigabytes. That's right. I'm not going to play this game for a week and a half because they live in Qatar with, crappy internet. Not saying all Qatar has crappy internet, but it's I wouldn't doubt it. But yeah, it's that, and like data caps, like I said, it's bad. Some people can only download 100 gigs for a month. It's like, oh, that's all, like half of my my download for the entire month now on this game that I had planned to buy a disc copy of. A lot of times going out of your way to get a disc copy just because you do have that situation, which is probably most people. I think most people buying a disc copy, it's not because they have a nostalgia factor, want to own a physical copy. I'm sure there's some of that, but the vast majority is probably because they have no other choice.
Yeah, they have a technical boundary. I think that's completely legitimate, that almost everybody isn't collecting discs other than two reasons. One, they feel that they can sell it, which they probably can't anymore.
Because the key's gone, it's basically you're selling an installer.
Yeah, or two, it is because they have just a shit internet. America is 46th, I think, now in internet speed, average internet speed. Our internet as a whole completely blows. And the fact is that these data caps and stuff like that, people don't realize that a gig on a PC without a data cap is nothing. For example, I get a blindingly fast download speed. So to me, 10, 50 gigs, it is literally just a couple minutes. It's fast. Somebody else who has a data cap, usually they also have a data cap on a shitty service. So you have a shitty service and you have a data cap, and I find that legitimately upsetting. What about you, Silver? What do you think?
Honestly, this might be a little bit controversial, but I don't really get why this is news. I mean, this has been an industry standard for a long time. I mean, I have a lot of disc versions of Steam games, Wolfenstein, Skyrim. They all pretty much work that way, where even after you install the game, you still have to download.
They do. What do you think about it? Are you, for example, I'm looking in our chat. Comcast just started a 300 gigabyte month cap for this person. Now, 300 gigabytes. Okay, so the Library of Congress plus some games. But that being said, what do you feel about it as a whole? How about this? It's even if it wasn't news, what do you think about the actual fact that it's an occurrence?
I get why it's a major problem for some people. I do, definitely. I think it's a little difficult because just of the way games work now, because you have there's such a long period between when you put the game on the disc and when the game releases often. So the game can often change in all sorts of ways in between there. So
that's a good point.
Have they said how much is going to be on the disc? Because I know back to MGS5 was literally a Steam executable.
I know.
That was
it was egregious. That's egregious. That's when
they have said that it's not just the Steam executable, that it is at least the game, at least parts of the game are on there.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's what I read.
Okay, and what about you, Rejaku?
Well, only parts of the game on a disc, that's pretty standard. I think what was new was Metal Gear Solid with just the Steam installer, like a big
definitely. That's an entirely different ballgame. Yeah.
I mean, why exactly did to get the physical copy then? There's literally no reason at all.
No reason at all, no.
Just buy a $30 CD key and be done with it. But I think in consequence, it's just another step to kill off retail copies.
Well, I think that's true. I think that when it comes down to it, so Todd Howard, he did say it was due to piracy, which I agree. Piracy's a bitch. These games get released on early access. They're pirated within 5, 10, 15 minutes. And I've seen that. I've talked to developers who were like, hey, please don't, tell anybody, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I never would. Why? And they're like, well, because our last game took 7 minutes to get cracked. Like, we had sales for 7 minutes. And I know people don't want to talk about pirates because, some people are okay with it, some aren't, whatever. I'm not. But the fact is that I have people who they try to make it legitimate. They'll say, well, I'm doing it because of a demo. And we've already discussed my thoughts that I believe the demo scene should return. Like, I have a problem that's not there. But I am okay with Bethesda doing this because of piracy. I absolutely am. But put it all on the fucking disc and then have just 1 or 2 files that you download.
Sorry for interrupting,
go ahead.
What the fuck with piracy? Sorry for the language. Because the files are usually encrypted anyway. They get unlocked on launch date. So what does it matter if the files are on disk or not?
No. Those are two separate things. I was stating personally that I don't have a problem with this situation as long as it doesn't artificially hurt people out there with bad data caps. The piracy thing was just getting onto the fact that a lot of people were saying that Steam does this due to piracy. Steam's creation was to stop piracy, and I was simply stating I don't like piracy. That was it. That was just a continuation of the discussion.
Okay.
But what I love is Rejaku is just like right now he looks like he's like 16 pixels because your internet is a little messed up, and then he's just dropping F-bombs. He's like, I am so angry my camera can't pick me up, so you guys better fucking listen.
The funny thing is,
it's 8-bit Rejaku.
Myself in that bad resolution as well, so I have no idea what's up.
I think it's awesome. You simply look like an artistic painting of a pissed off gamer talking about piracy. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, so let's jump on. I think we all agree that it sucks. It should be a small amount of data that you have to download. The next thing, music in games. Syndicate's music. The reason why I want to discuss this in particular, I want to know the question I'm going to ask you guys. Best music in a game and why. But here's one thing I thought was awesome in Syndicate. It's not the best music in a game, but it is good. Syndicate's music matches your footsteps. And that was fucking awesome. So like when I just killed some people and I walked out of the death zone, like behind me is this just swath of death. It looks like everybody was hit by an instant plague. And I come out of it. The beat of the drums was with my footsteps. And I was just like, this is so weak. It was like a trailer, but I was playing it, right? I was like walking. It was like boom, ba-da-da-doom, ba-da-doom. And it was just so cool. So I really like that. And that got me thinking about gaming music as a whole. Joker, if I said, what's your favorite music in a game and why? Would you be able to answer that?
Yeah, it's actually a fairly recent title, surprisingly, Killing Floor 2.
Oh, you like that? Yeah, so did I. It was very good.
It's just it's not like story based or anything, but
Right.
the soundtrack in that game is just amazing.
Do you think
Like,
it was amazing because it fit with what was happening?
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
just that in your
It's just
face?
it's so gory and fast paced, and it's just like, yeah, come on. It's like it's right down my alley for the type of music I listen to anyway. Like it's good like death metal, like get in there or industrial stuff.
No, that's a really good point. What about you, Silver? What's if I said best game music, even if it's just on the top of your head?
Oh, nothing. I mean, there's too many off the top of my head, really. But I think if I had to choose a game that was probably one of the first that really hit me with its music, it would probably be the original Mafia, City of Lost Heaven. And I know I keep raving about that game.
You keep
but really,
raving about that game, man.
That was a great game, man.
Oh, it
I
was.
thought that was better than the second one.
It was, but he's obviously selling copies through his G2A account because he's just constantly like, hey, everybody, I don't know, what are we're talking about joysticks? You know what game really works well with a joystick? Mafia 1, you know what game has really got a great female protagonist? Mafia
am I that
1.
transparent?
No. No, but I picked up on you, goddammit. No, but when it comes down to it, that was awesome. It was just awesome. That is really good music. Yes, you're absolutely right. And strangely enough, Mafia 2, not as good. Mafia 1, I thought the music was... and just so you know, you got me back into Mafia. So I went and I got it. I ended up buying it. And it does. It's got that theme period music that fits really well, but doesn't make you feel alienated if you weren't growing up in that time period. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of games may make you or me feel a little alienated if that music isn't something we grew up with, but maybe our parents did. Fallout 4 or Fallout 3, for example, is very shameless about that. They're like, we're going to throw some of this, old jazzy, macabre, different stuff at you, and you're just going to have to deal with it. And I liked it in the end. But with Mafia, I felt when I played it, I didn't feel that weird disconnect where I had to get into it. It was just really good right off the bat. Really liked it. Okay, Rejaku, really good music or the best music in what game?
I really don't know, actually.
Oh, come on. Come on.
World of Warcraft, maybe? Come on, that game had great music.
It did, didn't it? It did.
Yeah.
That's true. I did listen to the World of Warcraft soundtrack for a long while.
No cheating. No cheating.
I can't answer
Well,
for you.
it's true, but that's a long time ago, and I think The Witcher 2 maybe. Now I have it. Guild Wars.
Oh,
The first Guild Wars.
The first Guild Wars. Something Cadiz from my channel would agree with you on. He loved the music in that. So why did you like it? Just big orchestra themes?
Yeah, it just felt right. I liked listening to it. Just the soundtrack without playing the game. I simply enjoyed it. And I not as far as I can. Okay. Now it's slowly trickling back into my brain. The Secret World as well. I liked some of those soundtracks.
You son of a bitch. That was my answer. I brought it up as Syndicate, why I liked Syndicate. But honestly, after playing the Secret World here this last couple Sundays and doing the coverage for the channel, I'm going to be brutally honest. I was talking to the guys who they're sending me The Park, which is their 2-hour horror game that they're releasing based on the Secret World's Park in that game. And I was playing Secret World, and I sat back randomly, and I had to go to the bathroom. I walked away, and I walked back, and my wife was staring at the title screen. And I was like, what's wrong? She's like, this music is fantastic. And now my wife isn't a gamer, right? She Sims, those kind of things. She'll play a game occasionally with me. She isn't a gamer at all. She was just sitting back going, this is some of the most amazing music ever. And I was like, she's right. Like, I've always liked it. But what I did was I walked her through some areas in the secret world. And it's funny because that music is not the music you would expect for many gamers to say is their favorite or the best. But it's absolutely fantastic music, and that recently that is one of my favorite soundtracks. World, yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for stealing it, bastard.
Can I quickly interject because I have a really
anytime.
good worst one that just stayed with me forever.
Yeah.
Did any of you ever play Ultima Online?
Yeah.
Like one of the very first MMORPGs.
Uh-huh.
I remember the first time I ever stepped into Lord British's castle, and there was this god awful MIDI file
Yeah.
of
That played.
Britannia that played.
And it
it
played
was
over
my ears just
and
bleeded.
over.
Yeah. And my ears would just never stop bleeding after that, man.
It's nice to talk. The reason why I bring up music is, number one, that's sort of how we created the channel. But number two, I think that you can play a really good game and love it, but when you play a really good game that has a really good soundtrack, there's something. I mean, the human brain picks up on
It's the whole
that.
thing.
It makes it makes it connect more than anything else.
Oh,
Music is so powerful. Like when I saw Jurassic World this summer, as soon as that theme kicked
Yep.
in at the beginning, it was like tears welling up, that goosebump feeling. And same with the Star Wars trailer when the song's picking up. It's just like everything just comes together. It's just like
Yeah.
very powerful.
It is, and I think that it's cool because it hits at a level that's different than anything visual. Visuals are one thing, but sound does something different, and when I'm playing a game, again, Syndicate, when I was playing Syndicate, I was having such a good time, and then that music hit, and I walked out of this, debris field of humans, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, damn. Like, everything just... And again, I rated it, wait for sale because there were bugs. So I'm not saying it's the greatest game of all time, but the mix of those two just, it just caught me by surprise. Not something that I was expecting. And I really like to always sort of hit on those things. So we'll go ahead and throw it to you guys. Is there anything that you guys want to talk about that has been brought up in the news, even while we've been doing the podcast? That's sort of, hey, Scotty. How's it going? Sorry, I'm saying hi to Scotty in our chat. Scotty, I'm wearing your beanie that you bought me. Steelers, you rock, brother. I got that last night. So what about you, Joker? Is there anything that you want to bring up? Feel free to bring anything up.
There was nothing too major. There was one thing with Vermintide. I found out there's going to be no microtransactions. I found that out yesterday from the devs, which was good to hear. Just glad to hear that about that. And it's my understanding they're gonna have some free DLC as well coming down the road, which is good to hear. And then the other thing was I've been paying close attention to the closed alpha coming up for Doom today. I saw some gameplay of that, and that looked fantastic. Looked really good, just kind of like Unreal Tournament, but a little bit slower, which is good for me because I thought UT was a little bit too fast, the new one. Yeah, I have trouble getting back into that because I know it's like the speed of the games from back in the day, but I think I'm a little too old now for games that fast. I don't have the twitch reflexes like that anymore.
Do you or don't? Here's the question, Joker, because that's something maybe we'll discuss a little bit with the group. I thought the same thing was going on with me. I'm like, okay, as you get a little older, your reflexes go down. I found out that is not the case. What has happened is my speed at learning the game has gone down. Here's what's weird.
I'm the opposite on that.
Oh, see, so I jump into... Maybe it's because I'm reviewing games. I want to make sure that's clear, because I am jumping between, like, today, probably 5 titles.
Yeah.
And one's an adventure, one's Assassin's Creed, one's, a shooter. So that does happen. But what I've found is it takes me a little bit longer because 3 different shooters have different go-forward buttons, right? They have different, switch your weapons is a slightly different button. And so, I'm doing this on the keyboard going, But the speed at which I can aim and do things is the same. It's where I'll run out of ammo because the reload button isn't R, it's F. And I haven't gone into the instructions to do that. So, but for you, Joker, you feel like your reflexes have just like slightly taken a hit as you've got older?
On games like that, yeah, I think it's a lot is I've become so accustomed to aiming down sights in a lot of shooters because this hip fire thing has kind of gone away. Well, CS:GO, it's still there, but those old games where it was so fast and you're expected to like hip fire like sniper shots on like a pinpoint of a crosshair. It's like so small at the center of the screen and you got to hit that exactly or you miss.
Yeah.
and that's it. So it's really hard to get into that. But like other games, like I feel like I pick them up quickly because it's usually like the first few days I'm like doing really good on a new game because I pick it up a lot quicker. I feel than other people. But then as they start
gotcha.
learning it,
Yeah.
but then when they start learning it, they surpass me, and I'm like, okay, now I'm getting my ass kicked a weekend.
Yeah.
So, but I always feel at the initial stage I'm doing a lot better than later on.
That's a good point. What about you, Silver?
Yeah, I'm about the same as Joker. Most games I pick up I learn fairly easily.
Do you feel as
And
you
then,
got have you
and then
gotten
there's
older?
this gap. Yeah. Yeah, as I get older, definitely. I definitely notice. I think my skill levels increased.
Oh, gotcha. Your skill levels increased as you've got older?
Yeah, I think so.
Even on
I mean,
faster games.
Yeah, I would say so, but that might just be my selective memory.
Yeah. Have you played the new Unreal Tournament? Because that's like insanely fast.
No, I haven't played the new Unreal Tournament. I stay with the old 2004.
That's the fastest game I played since Tribes, and that game was literally on ice skates.
And those games to me feel slow. Like I don't know why, but I was playing the new Unreal and stuff, and I was like, oh, if this was just a tad. But that's always been my bitch, is that I want something that's so fast that everything's happening a full quarter of a second before you're prepared for it. I like that kind of thing. I like it, but I get where Joker's saying it is probably the fastest game to come out recently. When you were talking about your expertise or your ability going up as you get older, I also do think that experience can also slightly adjust what I think, where I think my ability is better, but sometimes I think what really happens is the experience of playing first-person shooters for years. I have a cool experience base. So no matter who releases a new game, usually maybe it's a little quicker for me to go, I know how far the jump is going to carry this person so I can hit him in the air, where maybe a person who hasn't played the thousands of games takes them a tiny bit longer to go, where is that going to happen? So maybe what I think is skill in my book, or the quick twitch being the same, might actually be a little lower, but the experience that we all have from playing games for years, you build up this little library of knowledge of how far a jump, far a jump is. What about you, Rejaku? What do you think as you've gotten older?
I think I've always sucked at learning game mechanics. So I haven't gotten any better or any worse. I've always taken quite a long time to get into games.
Just a solid level of shit. Rejeku's just like, when I play games, people know that I'll be at 0 kills, 15 deaths, so put me on the other team.
No, I'm usually around midfield.
Oh, are you? Hey, you know what? Here's the thing, guys. There's nothing wrong with
me too.
Nothing wrong with midfield. You know, if you're playing
midfield is slightly above,
just play the objective. As long as you're playing the objective, that's what matters.
Yeah, and what's great about these new games is, they help out the sucky players by giving them medics and stuff. No, I'm just joking. I'm not joking. I think that's really cool that they do that. I think that a lot of these games find other ways to reward players. Even in Star Wars, where there was all kinds of weird shit going on. I felt that you could do other stuff. You know, if you didn't have the weapon that you might have wanted, or you didn't have this particular, you just weren't as good, you could do other things within that game and still, I felt, do an okay job.
But one thing I think has changed with age is I get overloaded much more quickly. So if too many things are happening on screen, I totally zone out. I really can't focus. What the fuck am I doing here? There's explosions everywhere, and well.
So Joker brought that up. What about you, Silver? What's something you want to bring up for this discussion? Anything in your head?
I don't have anything we haven't really talked about. I think we've covered everything.
We do cover everything. We don't leave any stone unturned. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you guys something after Rejaku gives his. What do you want to talk about? Anything? Guys.
No. Actually, I don't know anything.
You don't know anything?
I don't know anything.
You know
I know that
stuff.
I know nothing.
Nothing you want to bring up?
I'll tell you one thing I'm curious to hear your guys' feedback on is if you saw the new Just Cause 3 gameplay, what you guys thought of that.
Well, let me bring this up first. You just took your turn, damn it. Give me a turn.
Okay, go on.
Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions coming to Steam. Who else is super excited? Is it just me? Have you guys played Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions?
I haven't played it, no.
Holy
It was good. That was a good one.
Is that
was the last good one I played Spider-Man wise since like PlayStation 1.
4 Spider-Man characters, brothers. And I'm not a Spider-Man fan, by the way. I think the movies are stupid.
Oh yeah, I vaguely remember it now, yeah.
Yeah, but this one has the 4 different dimensions, and I'm telling you, it's coming to Steam. You need to check it out. That game, I'm super excited for that because It'll probably still look good because of the cell shading and how they do the graphics. Like, it won't age like some games do, as they move forward. So I'm stoked for that. Now, Joker wanted to know what we think of the Just Cause 3 footage.
Yeah, there was like 40 minutes of gameplay put up. I wasn't not sure if you guys saw it, but
I did.
I watched it. It looked pretty
I
nice.
haven't. I've just seen like the early trailers and preliminary stuff.
Well,
I
how
haven't
about
seen
this?
the new.
We'll go from Rejaku across. Rejaku, what do you think of Just Cause? Are you excited for the release?
I frankly don't care. I mean, I enjoyed the second part, but
He's the greatest guest in the world. I don't know anything. I don't care. And I'm 8-bit, and your fucking pirates suck. Thank you for showing up for the podcast. He's awesome, man. Anyway.
You're making me out more negative than I am now.
No, you're not negative. I think it's great, man. I think it cracks me the shit up. Anyway, so you're not really interested in Just Cause 3.
Oh, I liked the second one,
Okay.
but yeah, I don't want to play this second one again either. So
Gotcha.
if a new one gets out,
Do you think maybe they've done a bad job with marketing the game? Because as compared to other big titles coming out this year, I haven't seen much at all of Just Cause 3. It seems like they're just really
That's true.
cobbling this together now, right before launch.
I think I've seen what was it, the E3 press event coverage,
Yeah.
where it's basically was even they somehow managed to make Just Cause boring during the press event.
Yeah.
Well, it really isn't. It's a stupid fun game.
And hopefully, multiplayer being there from launch, because that was one of the big things that really breathed a lot of life back into the second one.
Yeah, it
Later
was.
on was the mod. So if
Yeah,
that's
true.
going to be supported from launch, I think that's going to be really interesting. And seeing mod support as well built on top of that. So hopefully,
Yeah,
it's in that regard.
Quite sure it will be a great fun game, but not for me.
What about you,
I've
Silver?
got other games.
No, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's not a game I'm greatly anticipating, but I did thoroughly enjoy Just Cause 2, and I'm sure I'll enjoy Just Cause 3 as well.
And Joker, you're excited for it? It sounds like.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, but not because it's like I'm a massive fan of the series or anything, but it's because it feels like an underrated game this year that's not getting as much attention. I kind of want to see it come out and just blow everyone away, kind of like how Far Cry 3 did a couple years back, where it's like it just came out of nowhere. Like people that didn't play the previous ones were just like, "Wow, this is amazing," and I think they have the potential to do that because it's a great studio that's working on that game. The guys at Avalanche are awesome.
So my opinion is I'm not too hot on Just Cause. I feel that they're really boring. Just Cause is great for little bits of play, but it's got terrible AI. It's got some of the worst AI I've ever experienced in a game. Matter of fact, and then when you are playing it, if you look at it from far away, trailer view as I call it sometimes, it looks so great and so fun, and there's so much going on. But once you start getting down, maybe walking around, and you're not supposed to, but when you do, and you see some of the AI and some of the world, it's just really fucking ugly. And it's great. It's great when you're back, and if Karak wants to do a fun video of destruction, that's going to be cool, right? That'll look cool. And the core gameplay is probably mostly about that. I'll be brutally honest. But core gameplay doesn't mean you won't do the other stuff. And when you do, the game falls apart. And Just Cause 2, I really felt that it fell apart. Like whenever I wasn't ziplining instantly from place to place, whenever anything slowed down or any distance was just a little too far, and I started really looking at the world. And this is somebody who loved Just Cause 1. After a while, Just Cause 2 just sort of, it became too much for me. Like it was just explosions and it sort of got a little boring. Just Cause 3 looks cool. It looks like they've done a few improvements, but I'm wondering if the reason why the PR is not necessarily there is because they're having a difficult time differentiating it from 2. And that can happen where they have a difficult time saying, here's 3, it's not just 2, but better looking, it's 3 for a reason. Now, they have gone forward and they've said, hey, listen, guys, we are doing story. I don't know if you guys saw that, but they actually did an interview where they were like, we are really covering the story. We are actually going to have a full story in this game, like a full, it's going to be much more of a main central point. If so, That'll be really cool because I think that
Yeah.
the destruction. I'm going to tell you guys right now, the best engine in the world, right? A really cool engine is that engine. Just Cause's engine is awesome. If you could have a role playing game in a world that big, holy shit! The first time I played Just Cause 1, I was walking around. I kept telling Cadiz, why doesn't at that time Oblivion run this well? This world's massive. It's got trees everywhere, and if you walk and not drive, you don't see the pop in. And I was sitting there going, this is the greatest thing in the world. That engine would be awesome, guys, in some other styles of games. Can you imagine that if they sold that engine? Because I actually think that engine would behoove a lot of developers, as long as their tools are good, to jump into. It does perform well in some aspects. The destruction's really cool. You could really have a good time. But I unfortunately, it sounds like I'm the only one who isn't really just isn't super excited about it. There's, as Joker said, there's a lot of press about it. They haven't really told me, here's why you should think it's
true.
A sequel, I guess. I don't know.
That's why I want to be surprised, because that's what I kind of live for now with games. I want to be surprised, so surprise me.
Okay, last surprise then. What was your last surprise? Boom. If I said, what was your last surprise, Joker, in video gaming, you would say...
Divinity Original
Your
Sin.
question.
Divinity Original Sin. Very good.
Either that or Rocket League.
Really?
That or Rocket League, yeah. Those just came both out of nowhere, summer releases, and just like, boom, this game is like perfect.
Okay, what about you, Silver? Biggest surprise?
I'd probably say Beginner's Guide, at least this year.
Oh, right. Yeah, you and Beginner's Guide, man. I got it after you talked about it, and I just haven't turned it on. But everybody seems to like it. What about you, Rejaku? What would you say?
Well, I think I'd be with Undertale.
Really?
Yeah.
So who else has played that? Because I haven't.
I haven't played it, but I've heard
Me neither.
really good things about it from some people that I respect their opinion
Yeah.
on. So I'm sure it's great.
Here's the thing about Undertale, and you guys tell me if I'm right. Every time I look at it, it looks so underdeveloped. Like,
Oh yeah, that's how it looks.
Yeah.
It looks awful on the
looks
cover, but
awful. It looks
everything I hear
awful.
about it, I could tell that there's probably a lot more to it, under there.
Yeah, you're right, Joker. It's just so funny because every time somebody tells me about Undertale, I forget what it is, and they're talking about it so glowingly, and I'm like, I'm gonna go check this out, and I load it up, and I'm like, what the hell is this?
Like that's how I felt when I first saw Adventures of The Binding of Isaac. I saw that, I was just like, what's
That's
this?
true.
A Legend of Zelda ripoff? And then you play it, and you're just like, wow, this game is great.
So what's that game?
The Binding of Isaac.
And I haven't played that either. I have not got a chance. What
If
is
if
it
you-
about the Binding of Isaac that makes you look past that then?
Well, it actually captures that, but then it also does its own unique thing as well. But it's so familiar when you first sit down and play it to like the old original, like Legend of Zelda, that rogue like top down like point of view, like going from room to room. So it definitely puts you right back in there. But then it's got its own unique style and kind of clever sense of humor about it as well. It's
Really?
worth playing.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm going to believe you. So if it sucks, I'm coming after you.
No,
I'll
you
buy
will
it
not
on
be
your-
disappointed.
I will not be disappointed.
No, I don't
right.
think so.
And then, so I don't know how long you have, Joker. We sometimes go until we're talked out. What about you, Silver, Rejaku? You guys still got time?
Plenty.
Sure.
Okay.
I could do about another 10, 15 minutes. I got to get dinner started soon.
What time? Oh, yeah, you're 3 hours after me. Okay, so basically my question was just going to be, Microsoft announced they're no longer going to talk about shipments. You guys hear about that?
No.
No.
Okay, so what they're doing is they're turning over sort of a new leaf in their PR press. They're going to start talking just about live ownership, live user. How many live users they have. They're also adjusting it so they're only going to mention live users who've logged in the last month, which is really cool. So instead of saying live users and they go to some dude who signed in one time in 1960, before computers, whatever. They're gonna get away from talking about console shipments. Most people understand that if it's not the UK and if it's not the United States, the Xbox One isn't doing the best. However, if you're talking about those places, it's doing just fine. It's either eclipsing the 360 sales still, or it's right at those. So they're fine as a company. But if you guys, this is a question that just came into my email. I don't know why they didn't post this in the chat. If you guys ran Microsoft. Okay, and I know Joker's all PC, so you're going to have to put on you'll go last because you got to put your thinking cap on for this one. If you were Microsoft, what would you do, or would you do nothing? What I mean by that is the question was, would you just do what they're doing right now, which is focus on their strength, not worry about more console sales, as in continue to sell well. But what would you do if you ran Microsoft right now and you had the money Microsoft has, which is pretty much all of the United States? So, Rejaku, if you ran Microsoft and you wanted to, would you want to see improvement? Would you worry about that? What would you do if you ran it?
Well, I would worry about it, sure, because compared to PlayStation 4 sales, they aren't doing so well. I mean, taken by themselves, they're doing still great. But in comparison with their big competitor, they're not doing so hot. And of course, in the long run, that means there are probably fewer game sales on that platform, so less interest of publishers to get onto that console, less exclusive deals because it just doesn't pay enough to make an exclusive. Yeah, so of course I would somehow, I don't know how, try to get a bigger install base. That certainly doesn't happen overnight. And I know that some people still think that the Xbox, I think
can't play used games.
Last week, can't play and still has to be connected online all the time.
Yeah.
So the information that all that went out a long time ago is still seemingly isn't out there with some potential buyers.
Very
Which
good point.
To me is surprising, but then again, I think I read more game information than the regular player who makes who's the biggest part of the purchasing power.
Right. What about you, Silver?
Because,
Well, go ahead, Rejaku. No,
no, I just wanted to say because I think the most people don't read reviews at all. They were still go into a store, see a fancy picture, and buy it.
That or get tips from
friends,
the clerk.
Yeah, or the clerk.
In the
Oh,
store.
come on, man. That hurts my soul. Okay, so what about you, Silver? What would you do?
Probably what you said. Focus on the strengths of the company, and just let that speak for itself, and hope that that's enough. Trust in that.
Trust in that. So you wouldn't. You probably wouldn't do any big earth-shaking things.
No, probably not. I do think like one of the reasons why they're not doing so hot here is the main challenge here in continental Europe is really localization for for Germany, for France, for Spain, for all
85
these
languages needed.
Yeah, and they all kind of need a different approach sometimes to marketing, and I think that's a really, really big challenge for Europe.
Very cool. That's actually a really good answer, and that's actually really eye-opening. It's one of the reasons why I like having you guys on the channel, because, in the United States, other than being in Louisiana and having some slang, we all speak somewhat the same. I mean, we all but you guys do. Middle East has this, where they have 85 dialects in a 4-foot, radius, and you do need to localize for that. So that's a really good point. What about you, Joker? Have you thought of anything?
Yeah, actually, if I was in charge of Microsoft, I would focus on delivering our current library of games to the other half of our base that we are just letting sit there do nothing, which is the PC. They've got exclusive. They've got Windows 10. All the reasons to drive that platform and make it exclusive. Like, okay, you can play these Microsoft games, but you have to have Windows 10. It's going to drive that platform, and I think most of us could probably agree. You can let me know if you don't, but I think PC gamers are more often than not content creators as well, or more likely to be than consoles, because they've already got that hardware at their disposal.
Right.
More likely to hit that record button on Shadow Play or post that gameplay. And that's just going to put more content out there on YouTube or on Twitch or whatever for people to watch these games, consume that content, and then get interested in the games themselves for whatever platform they play on, whether it be Xbox One or Windows 10. And
I think
on
we're
top of the
seeing
fact that they're just missing out on sales anyway. And we're starting to see it with some games, but like Halo 5, we have no confirmation. It's kind of rumored right now, but it might. Forza, we haven't heard anything about that, but like Fable Legends and Gears of War, I know we're getting on PC. And what's the other one?
Those are the two big ones.
There's one other, the melee combat game. I can't recall the name of right now. Strife is, I know one. There's one other one, but I can't. Anyway, yeah, they're No, that's not it either. But they're starting to. That's the point. They're starting to. but I'd like to see them go all the way with it and say, we're going to take the Master Chief Collection, we're going to put that on PC. We're going to take Halo 5, put that on PC. All of them. Just put everything you got exclusive that you can. That's isn't an enormous cost for you to just transfer it over. Then do it.
I think we'll see some changes. We've already, there's already the rumor. Phil Spencer, as everybody knows, is a gamer. It doesn't matter what company he works for. But he sort of let slip on his Twitter that somebody said, "Well, can I stream Xbox to PC and PC to Xbox?" And the way he sort of answered was that it's going to go both ways, which is that's pretty
like
fucking cool right there. But number two, if it were me, honestly, guys, plain and simple fact is they need a sale on the Xbox One, and here's why. It is less powerful. Great. But it's barely less powerful. But here's the thing. The moment, if it's the same damn price, people will compare it. And there will be no reason to go with the Xbox One version unless it's your friends list. If you want to actually hit hard on, you have got to drop the cost on those consoles. They're already expensive as hell. And PC gamers are looking at it and going, listen, that's the cost or close to the cost of a better graphics card. And I'm just going to go with a graphics card. If you could get that console down $100 less than PS4, everybody I know would buy Xbox One games because those small differences on a console matter less, of course, than a PC, and they would be able to do that. These consoles cost a boatload of money when you really think about what they do, what they have in them, and what they're going against. See, they weren't going against PC in the past, guys, because they had these weird architectures that allowed them to do things. I still remember talking to, as I said, the developer of Dead Rising is like, listen, right now, if we wanted this if we wanted to do a release on the PC as well, the graphics card would need to be this monster. Now, that's not the same anymore because PC development is, the graphics cards have seen their increases and things have sort of tightened up. And yet there hasn't been a change on Microsoft's part where they're like, listen, we have a competitor, which is ourselves as well.
Yeah.
They are competing against 2, maybe 3 people, Nintendo, Sony, and themselves. Now, people like to say, oh, well, I'll just buy it on the PC because I don't like the Xbox. Well, thanks, you're helping the PC as well. I mean, you're helping Windows anyway. There's still, Microsoft Gaming will still get that cash. But I still think that those systems, if somebody said, hey, it's $199 for the Xbox One, that would be much easier to swallow. The lesser...
Especially the holdouts. Especially the holdouts that are still on old gen that just can't afford it, That
can't afford it, and that's one of the problems. Yeah. Microsoft last gen did $99, and I know a lot of people didn't agree with it, but they had the consignment thing, and I know a lot of my friends ended up buying it, and were really happy that they were able to get a console for $99. Yes, they paid a little bit more later, but it wasn't actually that much more, and they had the system right then. So Microsoft has these things in place. They need to drop that price, man. That console, if it's going to offer same or almost the same performance, it cannot cost the same. When the console can't perform as well, they need to drop the price because people will end up buying it. And that's if you want to see them do as well. That's another thing. Like a lot of people are just like, well, they're doing pretty okay right now. They'll sell their console and or they'll do their games on Windows. But they didn't release those consoles just to stop making them. And so they got to start selling them. And I think that's one of the ways. I think a price drop, if anybody came, for example, our LAN group has about 600 people. And most are Xbox. They still went to Xbox regardless, which is so weird because every time somebody says the PS4 is selling more, around me, no one owns one. Not a single person owns a PS4. They all own Xboxes, most likely because of groups. So here's the thing. You got these groups. It's obvious that there's people who want to jump their old content forward. Make backwards compatibility compatible for all games. You have got to go back and you got to find Red Dead, and you have got to talk to Rockstar and figure out how to get fucking Red Dead to work on your new system. Because if you do, people will see backwards compatibility is big. I do know about 20 people who bought it day one. The moment backwards compatibility was announced, I know at least 20 people who said, boom, this is it. Like, backwards compatibility matters to me even if it's not every game. People have 360s filled with digital content that they cannot play if they sell it. It's gone. If you said, hey, backwards compatibility is going to work for that stuff, move forward onto our new system, holy shit, would that be it? Backwards compatibility is a big deal, guys. Viva Pinata, I played the shit out of that game. And, it's not possible on the new system. So
I mean, that was always one of Nintendo's biggest strengths for me, was that they usually always had backwards compatibility in their systems.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Look at PC. I have backwards compatibility since the day PC was created. If I don't, I have a way to do it with an emulator of an emulator. I have done this, by the way. I've had an emulated system run an emulated system. It does happen. You can do that on PC. And if you're the Windows manufacturer, the fact that you don't have that on your console is egregious. That's completely unacceptable that you, as the Windows manufacturer, have not figured out a way to do backwards compatibility on your own fucking console. Even if your console is a completely different architecture. You gotta take those steps forward. Joker, I know we're holding you, right? You got to get some food.
I got to start cooking for my family.
Oh, hey, well, you
stuff.
got to take care of them. Well, I appreciate you jumping on.
Yeah.
It
Well, it's
definitely
awesome. But thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, and you have an open invite for every Friday. We'll be doing these.
Right.
I know you're busy, but we would love for you to come on.
Yeah, I could definitely stop by intermittently. I can't do it every week, but
Yep.
when I can do it, I will. It's a fun time. I enjoyed meeting everyone, and thank you for having me on and all that stuff.
Thanks much, man. See
It's
you
a
later.
pleasure, man. Take
All
care.
right, see you later, guys. Silver, Rejaku. Good meeting you guys. Later.
Bye, man.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so the fact is I do think backwards compatibility would help a lot. I don't backwards compatibility and a price change. They need to do it. And they need to do
I think
it
you're right.
as soon as possible. I mean, it's a winning or it's a losing conversation if anybody wants to go and say you should get Fallout 4 for the Xbox One. What's the first thing that's gonna? I mean, the first thing somebody's gonna say is why. Well, your friends are on there, okay. But it's slightly maybe, let's say they go with a lower resolution but a better frame rate, which has happened multiple times. PS4 versus where you've got 900 versus 1080p, but the 900 version runs a little better. So somebody like Joker would probably want that version, right? It's a higher frame rate. He's a frame rate king. He likes those things. Makes total sense.
Yeah.
But if they cost the fucking same, it's difficult to sell that to anybody. And I don't know why Microsoft hasn't figured it out. It's too expensive. I don't know. Too expensive, needs backwards compatibility. Anything else you guys have to add before we go? There's been some good discussion here.
Probably.
Go ahead.
I did think of something as we talked about remasters. That made me a little sad because I know EA won't ever do it, but I would really, really beg them to see another Strike game. I would really love that.
What game?
Another Strike game, like Desert Strike, Jungle Strike, Urban Strike, Nuclear Strike. I love those chopper action games, and I haven't seen one in like over 10 years.
Well, they could do a sequel. They didn't say they wouldn't do a sequel, so you could see like Forest Strike or something. You'd have to name it different. Brigadier, I brought it up, or Brigador, I brought it up that had a lot of feeling of the Strike series. I don't know how to describe it until you play it, but it's not only the view, it's the way everything works in that game. Really does feel like a Strike series game. Rejaku, did you ever play the Strike series when you were younger?
Nope.
No. Did you see my review for Brigador? And do those type of games interest you?
I did see the review, but it's not really my kind of game.
Right. Okay. And what about you, Silver? Are you thinking of ever picking up Brigador?
I might, yeah.
Yeah, because you might like that.
I might.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, though, so just so everybody knows what we're talking about, EA has said you only do remasters, reimaginings, or whatever you want to call it, whenever you are out of ideas. Here's the thing, though. EA is known to split off development groups, and I have a weird feeling we're going to see a company within EA that does do that. EA could easily make a small company and sell them the rights to these games that company is still within them, like almost like a second party company. And I see that happening. If they think the money's there, they're going to have to figure out how to do it, right? Like they're a company. They're not stupid. If they have $200 million worth of possible profits over here, I think they'll figure out a way.
They're not going to walk away from it, no.
Right. I think they'll figure out a way to do it. Well, anyway, that is it for me. There's a long discussion. We did well. When did we start this? 12:30.
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah.
So is anybody going to do Doom today? Doom? Anybody? No?
No.
I'm probably going to jump into that. What about Vermintide?
Yeah, that maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
What are your games this weekend?
I was thinking of picking up Syndicate tomorrow.
Gotcha. What about you,
Looking into
Rejaku?
that.
Continuing Syndicate. I did start it today.
And what do you think?
It only crashed once so far.
What system? What system?
PlayStation 4.
It crashed totally?
Yeah. The PS4 got stuck for like a minute or two.
Yeah.
And then it gave me a message, please send in the following error report, and just said, okay, send.
Damn. Damn. You are playing on the patch too. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem. You're playing on the patch. I was just about to say might cause me to move forward with a purchase. Guys,
It was one time, and before that it was loading for a oddly long time. So it got stuck somewhere. I don't know where.
It kills my soul. I was talking to Silver before anybody jumped on. I want to say, I quite literally am sitting here and I want to just tell everybody to go buy it because I really enjoy the gameplay. But that just makes it more solid that it's a wait for a buy. Like it bothers me to no end. Oh yeah, and I just saw you popped off November 19th for the PC version, supposedly.
Yeah.
Well, the PC version, hopefully they can fix some of that stuff. I mean, you got Silver. We all are. You're not primarily PC. Yes, you are, Silver.
Yeah, I would say so, probably. Yeah.
But you're gonna.
It depends on the games, though. I mean, it depends on the game genre.
Do you think you'll get Syndicate on the PC as well, or just a console?
I might get it on PC on a sale much later.
Yeah, much later. Who's finished an Assassin's Creed game here?
I have all of them.
I actually have, yeah.
Oh,
Not
all of them.
all of them, but the Black Flag or something, one of them I finished.
All right, let's finish this up with an excellent question. What's your favorite Assassin's... Since we're all Assassin's Creed fans, what's your favorite Assassin's Creed game, Silver? Okay, you're thinking. Rejaku, what do you think? Let him think.
I think I told last time already, Black Flag for me.
Oh, I can't remember if I asked it because mine changed. Okay, so Black Flag for you, story, gameplay, just...
Yeah, I really like the ships.
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? It's awesome.
Yeah.
If you get a chance, play Rebel Galaxy.
I've started that. I've played that for 5 hours so far.
It feels like that, doesn't it? At times with
Yeah.
that broadsides combat. Okay, so Silver, you had your time. Favorite AC.
It might be a bit controversial, but probably Unity, as it is now. Just because of the setting, the historical setting, mainly. And also kind of the merging between... There are some Splinter Cell Blacklist elements in there.
Yeah.
That I really liked.
It's funny because Rejaku and I've seen this, but, I played at Unity and I've played Syndicate, and graphically, Syndicate is like a little less clear, I guess would be the way to... It's hard to describe really what's going on in that game. But the fact is that Syndicate, with the dynamic lighting, when you are adventuring and it's slowly going to dusk and and doing all that, there's something about that was missing in Unity. Unity, you chose the time frame. I don't know if you remember, but you choose dusk or whatever. Syndicate's awesome, man. There's some really cool bits about Syndicate. Also, I don't think I'm ever going to get tired of saving little children from burning alive in the smelters. And when you go in there and yes, somebody said, all you do is press A. Well, what the fuck else would you do to free the... I mean, it's just a controller. It's not like you've got the Kinect and you can pretend to untie them. Like, whenever I see that kind of bullshit, I'm like, you're holding a controller. What else? What else would you do? But when you go in there and you kill a bunch of people and you save children and they run off, and then instantly you turn around and use them for your spy ring, so you remove them from danger.
Baker Street Irregulars.
Dude, it's so great. You move them from danger, and then you're like, hey, I'm going to put you back in danger, but this type of danger is much worse because you can't dodge it like hot flaming metal. This is danger that'll get you stabbed in the spleen in the middle of the night in some alley somewhere. It's such a cool... Every Assassin's Creed game is like that, where the little bits, if you play them, they don't match the overall story. Like, the little bits that happen, you're playing them and you're like, this is great. But then if you step back and you look at it, you're like, what the fuck? What's going on? Like, none of this makes sense when you take it within the entirety. But Ubisoft, the map mess is there, but it's so much less. There's enjoyment there. Got to let the dog out. There's enjoyment there that wasn't there for me in Unity, and I liked Unity. There were some bits that I really liked. The crowds, wow. Man, when you play this, Silver, you're going to be so surprised. It's like they went in and just neutered the crowds. Now, I like it because, I'm going to be honest, I live in a big city, and when I go down and walk down to my main street, the crowds are nowhere near what Unity's like. It's almost like in Unity, everybody was breeding in the center of the street, and children were just popping up everywhere. Unity loved to pack as many people as they could in these small areas, and sometimes you were just like, why is everybody here? in Syndicate, I feel, and Rejaku, I'd like to hear what you think. I feel that it's actually much more realistic, though pared down. I feel that the crowd size is actually doable. Like, it feels a little bit more organic to me and a little less like, hey, look at our new tech thing we can do. But would you agree, Rejaku, or would you actually say I'm full of shit?
Yeah, the amount of people, I think, feels fine. It feels realistic. What surprised me was the amount of carriages in the streets.
It's like Bloodborne. If you've ever played Bloodborne, one of the first things I said in a preview of Bloodborne is I've now figured out where, all of the carriages for all other games have gone. Because in Bloodborne, there is a carriage every 6 feet.
Yeah.
It is the same way. He's absolutely right. When you're playing Syndicate, it's almost like taxis at an airport, but they're everywhere. They're just, and what's funny is some of your upgrades can either increase the certain type or make them stronger if they're on your team, or hurt the enemies, which I thought was cool. One of your skills, or one of your things you can do, is basically have your guys go out and sort of sabotage the enemy's carriages, which I thought was a sort of a cool little skill. I was like, oh, well, that's unique. However, one of those is actually adjusting how many carriages are on the street, and I didn't choose it because I was like, dude, I would just run across the tops of the carriages instead of riding them. There's that many.
The floor is lava.
The floor is lava. It's so great. I can't wait to see what you think when you play it, because hopefully you don't experience the bugs that a lot of us are experiencing.
I will say, in defense of the crowds, in Unity is supposed to be like in the middle of a revolution, so it's basically the angry mob. I mean, I had...
Yeah, but the angry mobs were in like alleys too.
Yeah, I mean, true enough.
But I get you. Go ahead. Continue.
When I went out, for instance, when I stepped out into Place de la Concorde, where there's like 1,000 people, and there's Madame la Guillotine right in the square, and they're chopping off the heads of traitors. I mean, that was an impressive feeling.
Maybe Ubisoft thought if we switch their gender while he's running, it'll feel like there's even more people in the crowd.
True enough. Could be.
One of the greatest things about Unity was its technical problems. It was, what I mean by that is, even though there were glitches in that game, some of them were just downright hilarious. Like, I saw some stuff, and I said it in my review, I actually did feel like sometimes I was watching sexual encounters occur, because I would come around a corner and there'd be a guy, and like the female would be bent in front of him, and I'd be like, what is occurring? And then like she'd magically like melt into a wall, and I'd be all, is this like a cutscene I just walked in front of? So yeah, it's great. Black Flag, as Rejaku talked about, it's a great game. I think I liked Rogue a little better because Black Flag seemed so big to me. Maybe because of the addition of such a large expanse of water in that game, that when you turned it on, right? And I don't know if Rejaku agrees, but when I would turn on and like sail around or move around, in Assassin's Creed, you're always moving forward at a specific speed or faster. In Black Flag, sometimes you had to transition into a boat. The boat would have to go around a corner to get, like, let's say, around a outlet of land. I felt sometimes trapped by the speed at which I could move around, if that makes sense. So when I wanted to go to another island, I'd be like, oh, damn. I got to go back to the boat instead of just going forward, right? If that makes sense. In all other Assassin's Creed games, it's forward, and then if you have to go around an enemy base, that's fine. In Black Flag, it was the first one I had played where I was like, oh, to go forward, I may have to go back to go forward. And of course, you have fast travel, which pops up. But yeah, I don't know.
I get that. That's the same feeling I got with The Witcher sometimes.
Right. Yeah. Yes. That did happen to me as well, now that I think about it. And you just beat The Witcher.
Yeah. The main story.
I beat it as well, yeah.
And you beat it as well. Okay, great. Let's, if you guys got a moment, we'll just talk about The Witcher. So, what do you think of the ending?
I loved it.
Loved it.
Yeah.
What about you, Rejaku?
It was okay. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I didn't hate it either. It was a good ending.
Did you feel that, we'll ask you and then we'll go to Silver. So, do you feel that it lacked like emotional resonance with the rest of the story? Do you feel that it was disconnected like Life is Strange? Or do you feel that it was just not handled?
As bad as Life is Strange.
Sure,
no.
Sure.
But I certainly wasn't really emotionally invested in the ending.
Why do you think that was?
Not sure. Maybe the character setup didn't really connect with me leading up to that point. because I'm thinking emotional involvement. I'm thinking The Last of Us, because that game, the beginning especially, got me. That worked.
I see.
Still gets
Was
me every
brilliant.
time as well. The beginning there, yeah.
Can before we move to Silver, can you what part do you mean? Just with you in the in the house, gathering the child and getting in the car?
Yeah, that part. And
I must be
thought-
spiritually dead.
I thought it was pretty sad that they used up their high point at the start of the game.
I see. But I got you. Okay. So Silver, what about you then? When you look at Witcher 3, you loved it. Why? Without giving anything away.
I just felt it was really poignant, the way it ended for me. With my ending was Ciri going to become Empress, and leaving on her own, and I felt like the last kind of illusion they got, this moment together, Geralt and Ciri, where they were Witchers together for the last time, so to speak, and then said their goodbyes. I felt that was really poignant.
I felt that the entire game hinted that there was going to be a separation of them forever.
I had a
anybody else
different
feel that?
ending.
Okay. Does everybody? Do you guys feel though that they during the gameplay it just felt like she was already separate, if that makes sense? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know any other way to describe it without giving a bunch away, but I just didn't feel like so that ending makes sense. I see why. I guess I'm agreeing. I can see why you'd think that was poignant, because it wasn't just seeming like that. It was this is probably gonna be forever kind of thing. That's interesting. With Witcher 3, I felt the ending was okay. You have different endings, so I think that's one of the major things. Is that, in an Assassin's Creed game, for the most part, you always get one ending. But with Witcher 3, how many endings were there? Anybody know?
I don't remember the number. No.
Wasn't there 7 or 8? Wasn't there more? There was more than 2 or 3, weren't there?
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 were like the main variations, and then the other were kind of smaller variations of those 3.
Gotcha.
I think that's how it was, but I'm not sure.
Well, I just was asked if we could finish up talking about Mass Effect Andromeda. So, I don't know much about Mass Effect Andromeda, nor Mass Effect killed me, the ending, so I'm not right now like going, Mass Effect, everything new about Mass Effect I care about. How about you guys? Are you guys even following Andromeda? And if you are, is there anything you don't want? If you didn't play Mass Effect or didn't like it, then of course that would make sense too.
I'm not following Andromeda that closely yet. I probably will when there's more information out. I really liked Mass Effect 3 as a game. I hated the ending, but I felt it was probably the strongest game in the series, and I really enjoyed the multiplayer. I had a lot of fun with that.
Hidden multiplayer, wasn't it? Hidden multiplayer. A lot of people didn't talk about it, but the multiplayer, everybody I know thinks that the multiplayer is absolutely incredible. What about you, Rejaku? What do you think of Andromeda? Do you care?
Well, I will definitely play it when it comes out, but right now I'm not following it at all.
How did you feel about 3? We have talked about it in the past, but I just don't remember.
I was all right with the ending, actually. I didn't hate it. It was a little bit odd, maybe, but it wasn't that bad.
I felt that it was Life is Strange, like where they didn't care about what you had done. They just cared about your 3 choices.
Well, that's true.
And I sat there, I had been told that it was all going to matter, and I sat there with my forces behind me, and then was told you have 3 choices. And I was like, well, shouldn't those 3 choices at least be adjusted by the billions of things I've done in the past?
Okay, that point really was negative. That's true.
Yeah.
Also, it felt a little too much like Deus Ex.
Oh.
To me, anyway.
Why do you think that?
Well, it was basically the same kind of options in terms of like AI, melting AI, and going for humanity, so to speak.
Huh. That's actually a good point. Yeah, I never compared those two. I think that Mass Effect as a whole changed so much between the sequels. At least with, like, let's say Life is Strange, they may have lost an editor here or there and it adjusted the feel, but the world overall was still the same. When I was playing Mass Effect, 1 felt so different than 2, and they didn't tell anybody. Yeah. Somehow, everybody in the universe just assumed all guns controlled completely different, and that their ammo was completely done in a different way, and everybody was okay with it. There was no narrative behind it. It was like, suddenly your AK-47 clip doesn't work the same way as it ever did before, and that's okay. 2 also had some big changes, but then in 3, I felt that they returned a little bit and did a better job with 2's characters were more throwaway. I think I'll just say that. We came off of the strengths of Rex and other characters that were so strong in 1, and then you went to 2, and some of those were fun. Don't get me wrong, I liked some of those characters, but they never felt as strong, even in my hate. You know, a lot of people hated Ashley because she was what was she? She was an alienist, right? She hated other aliens. I don't think she was a racist. I think, that is a racist technically, but yeah. And in number 3, they sort of returned her, but sort of adjusted that character to a more experienced character, like somebody who's seen these other races fight for humanity. I thought that was really cool. I thought number 3 had really done a pretty good job on returning it a little bit back to form. Still no exploring, which I feel is really lost. I feel that the exploring in number 1, yes, it was cookie cutter, I get it, but landing on a planet and looking up and seeing an asteroid shower was pretty fucking cool for that first game. Like that first game, I was pretty into that shit. I thought that was really, really awesome.
Yeah, but then you had to drive the Mako around, and then the magic kind of disappeared.
I loved it. I think we've talked about this before. I love the Mako. I thought the Mako, but I loved 3-wheelers when I was a kid, which are banned because supposedly they were dangerous. So I'm sort of a freak when it comes to that. But I thought the Mako and its absolutely random control was just a blast. But I get you, yeah. And then 2, was 2 where they introduced planets resourcing, where you shot the damn.
Yeah, I
I think so. Yeah.
Probing.
Probing. Welcome to the danger zone. We're gonna do planets being probed. Yeah, that was really just not the best game ad, I think. And then what did 3 do? 3 reduced probing, but I thought 3 also added something. I don't even remember what it added. 3 add any gameplay ad like that? A mini?
Maybe new fish for the fish tank.
Oh God!
And there were the weapon modifications. Definitely were there.
Yeah, those games are interesting. I mean, when we see Andromeda, it's going to be cool because I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but 70% of the team that worked on the original Mass Effects are gone. So you have 30%, which hold on to whatever core ideals that they liked from their past, because we all have different likes. So I'm sure they do. So if you have 100 people,
I honestly wasn't that big of a fan of the first Mass Effect. I felt it was a bit overrated. Like when I can barely play it now in terms of the gameplay. I think there are a lot of imbalanced powers. For instance, immunity. I hate that ability. It's basically God mode for you and the enemy. Yes. You can stand there shooting at each other for like half a minute.
Yeah, so that's what's really interesting is, let's say there's 100 developers, 70 of them have left, and you've got 30, and whatever they liked from the previous will move into this new one. And I think that's what's going to be really interesting, because we're going to look at this new title that, maybe some of those people have gone up within the company, and so maybe some of them liked 1, but they weren't able to make those choices, so they'll be able to put them in Andromeda. Maybe none of the people who are moving forward liked 3. That's what I think is going to be awesome. It's always interesting in game development to understand that no company stays the same between 2 games. It's never happened. At least 1 or 2 people leave. And I'm sure any of you guys who've worked in a company, 1 person can ruin it and 1 person can totally change it. And I think that's what's so exciting, is we'll be able to see what Andromeda is sort of bringing. I get where Rejaku is going, where it's like, I'm not even going to think about it until they sort of get, I guess, even playable content in a trailer. I think a lot of people are doing that.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah, where you just sit back. What are those games that I'm seeing behind you? I see Silver. I see Eternity, Pillars of Eternity.
Then there's Rome Total War 2 and Witcher 3.
Witcher 3, yeah. Sorry, I just saw those. Well, anyway, guys, I think that's it for us. We'll let these poor saps go. The awesome guys who have stuck with us. That was awesome to have Joker on. Next week, Go Burns will return, and I believe Skilled will return if he can. We'll have some, we may even have another patron that I talked to, and another YouTuber who will want to join up. Anything you guys want to add before we jettison for our Fridays? For your guys' Fridays. For me, I don't know what it is.
Well, it's not Friday for much longer for me.
Oh yeah, you guys are into Saturday. You guys are into Saturday, man. Is there anything you guys want to add?
Just thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's always a blast, man. You guys are cool. I mean, even when we have a pixelated angry man who's just just joking, man.
Talking about being angry, I have to point out you got my name wrong again.
In the title here.
Yeah.
Hang on, change. Wait a minute. Did I? How? No, it's what I see in Oh, whoops! I renamed
Yeah,
you in
exactly.
Skype too. Okay, spell it for me, brother.
The second E should be an A. So it's
There we go.
It's a little mistake.
No, it's totally fine. I even went in and adjusted your Skype because that's one of the problems is because my name's pretty much known. I always want to make sure your guys's aren't. So I went in and typed it and messed it up. So I apologize for that. Anyway, everybody, thank you for watching us. It's been a blast as always. I appreciate the visitors coming in and talking with me. Silver, Rejaku, Joker. It is a blast talking to you guys, man. You guys make me laugh. See, I'm going to leave, and all I'm going to think about is this 8-bit face. I will be doing a couple videos for anybody who's still here. We'll be doing Mass Effect is what I almost said. We'll be doing a Halo review. I think that comes out Sunday night, and I will be doing, I believe, a full campaign walkthrough of that. I believe from now on, I'm going to start doing that, where we do Let's Plays the exact same time. Not a huge fan of doing that, but I get a lot of people asking, and it does help the channel for now. If you guys get a chance, subscribe, help out on Patreon. If you don't, I appreciate you just watching the videos. Thanks, guys. Guys,
Thanks.
rock, as always.
Take care, man.
Yep, peace out.
Ciao.
Peace out.